movie, isn't it?
Can you call the meeting to order?
Yeah, I was waiting. Did you hear anything back yet? Did you hear anything back?
No, I just texted. It'll take him a minute to respond.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. It's roughly 6:01 on Tuesday, the 20th of December. Meeting of the Budget Committee will come to order. We'll go right into new business, which is to consider the budget. The first order of business is to consider the budget for the Highway Department. I will make a motion to introduce the bottom line for the Highway Department, which is section 4311, in the amount of $714,138.
He texted and said, certainly. I said, are you on your way? And certainly.
Okay, so before we start bombarding you with...
I'll second that.
Okay, I didn't realize I needed a second for a call. Oh, my motion, thank you. So, the introduction of the bottom line is seconded by Charlie. Charlie, I missed that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Before we start asking questions, is there anything new or anything you want to bring to our attention or
I don't have anything,
no last minute changes?
no last minute changes, nothing, there's some fairly decent increases. I have an explanation for those, but it's all basically just what we gotta do.
Right. So, you want to go ahead and take us through the big increases, because we would probably ask about those, and then if we have any other questions, we can
Okay.
go ahead, so.
This one's not really an increase, but it's increased last year, the tree removal budget for ash trees.
So that's line 390?
Yeah, we increased it to 20,000 last year. I'm gonna keep it at that because there's still a lot of dead ash. We've had contractors in and taken out trying to get the hazard trees first, anything that might fall and hit a house, and getting them as we go along. We just had a dead one done at the Old Town Hall today, so.
Okay.
So you focus on ones that are along public right-of-ways,
Only,
But-
that's all we have
but
responsibility for.
also ones that are closer to people's homes are of more
Priority.
pressing concern to you.
Yes.
Okay.
If the tree looks like, if it's in our right of way and it looks like if it falls, it's gonna fall out into the woods, I'm not gonna touch it.
Yeah.
We're gonna get the ones that are gonna fall in the road or fall onto somebody's house. So,
So the only follow-up I can think to ask is just, I mean, I know we're not at the end of the year yet, but this says that as of mid-December, we've spent $13,300.
Yeah, and like I said, he was
Do you
here
think that's
today.
about right? You're gonna spend the 13 or 14 out of the 20?
As long as he gets what's on the list for the rest of the year. We have a couple in Kelly Park and
So it's
Bristol
still-
Hill Road that we're still working on, so.
They were cutting today.
So the number's gonna go up by the time we get to the
Yeah.
end of the year. That's what I wanted to
Yes,
confirm.
it
Thank you.
will.
Okay.
Whether we get all the way to the 20,000, I don't know for sure. We may go over.
I'm not telling you you have to spend money.
Yeah.
Please don't take it that way. Thank you.
Okay, line 392 for our line painter.
Yeah?
They increased that. Oh, wait a minute, what the hell happened there? Or maybe I moved that to new equipment. We were looking
Yeah, you did.
to replace our line striping machine with a newer one. Ours is about 25 years old. And I'm pretty sure we moved that down to the last line, the new equipment line.
Because it's 392 essentially just for the paint.
Right, just for the paint.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I see you've got a line 810 for new equipment, so maybe it's in there.
Yes, it is.
So the fact that you're repairing it, I mean, I'm sorry, the fact that you're looking to replace it probably makes sense, as if this year we spent over $1,500 to repair it. That sounds like it's an old piece of equipment that needing a lot of attention.
It does.
Okay.
And I mean, it's not a real expensive machine. They're under $5,000. It's just,
So I guess the follow-up that I would have is,
It's paint too,
yeah.
for the machine.
that's the answer. Because I was gonna say, if we're spending $1,800 this year on an old machine that takes a lot of attention, and we're gonna buy a new machine, wouldn't we expect repair costs to go down? But that's also operating
Yes.
costs, is what
Right.
Charlie said. Okay.
Of course, the electric rates, those are up. My supply line, materials and supplies, that's up. We were over a little on that, so I thought we ought to bump that a little bit.
So electricity 410 is up, and what was the other one you wanted to mention?
Line 610, materials and supplies.
Okay,
We budgeted 10,000, we've already spent 13, and I increased that to 15 for the year.
What are typical high-priced items that go into that line for materials and supplies?
It's kind of a catch-all if we're on a job site and we need to run and get, you know, an extra catch basin or incidentals that would, you know.
But it can be items that run a couple $100 at least.
Yep, shop
Safety.
supplies,
Okay.
all that kind of stuff. Diesel fuel, gas and oil,
635.
635. We were fortunate this year when the diesel fuel prices went up. We were on the state contract, and that went through until October. We were paying $2.20 a gallon, while everybody else was paying $5.50, whatever the $6, whatever a gallon. The end of October, that contract expired, and we're now on rack price with the state. Last month I checked it, we were paying $3.90 in that neighborhood.
So almost double.
Yeah, and we it's just a guess on where the fuel prices are gonna go. We'd like to see the diesel fuel come down a little bit, but
Right.
it's one of those.
You give it your best estimate.
Yep.
And we'll see what.
Yep, we burned.
Next year, we'll see what we actually got.
Right, last year we used 9,300 gallons of diesel fuel in the trucks. And then our vehicle maintenance lines, the backhoe, we need a new set of tires for that, so that line is up quite a bit. Basically, it's tires for the vehicles that has put the lines up, if you can get them. Right. We were fortunate, we got 4 new tires on the trucks this year, so. The bucket truck line, we added a little to that. We have a leaking input seal on the rear axle. So that's gotta come apart to change the seal. So there's a little bit of work we need to do to that.
So I'm not sure, the bucket truck is which line?
678.
670. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we're just, let's keep the oil in it, we're fine, but it's something that we need to fix.
Every time I use it, I gotta check the puddle under it.
Yeah. Salt's up a little bit. That was, I don't know, 70 something a ton last year. This year it's 82 or 85.20 a ton. That's line 693. And then the new equipment line is up. That was where we moved the, that's 810. That's where we moved the line painter to.
You're not up much on that.
Excuse me?
Not up much on that.
I was thinking the same thing. So last year we were 72.75, and this year you want 10,000, so it's up.
92.75.
Yeah.
But I didn't say, I didn't read that right, thank you.
Mark, on the safety equipment, that's doubled, is that something specific, or?
Yeah, we used to share safety glasses and hard hats and all that stuff. We don't do that anymore.
That makes sense.
So we get a new employee, he's gotta have hard hat chaps for the chainsaws, and it's just the way things are now.
Can I ask about line 120, which is the part-time operators?
Yep.
Is that an actual employee?
It
Or-
is a part-time employee. He comes in, he works a regular job construction during the summer, and in the wintertime, if I need him, he comes in. If he has vacation time, or if he gets laid off for a week or two during the winter, he'll come in and work.
Oh,
And
so
he works just mostly
Frankly,
during
he's
snowstorms.
working like this month.
No,
when you would
because
see him work?
no, but he will probably work a couple of weeks straight in the middle of the winter.
Okay. But he probably didn't work this year?
Yes, he worked,
I saw him yesterday.
Because I just see
Friday
it
and
spent at just $434.
right, well, and it all depends on how much snow and how many times we have him come in.
Okay.
Yeah. He's pretty valuable to us, the part-time work he does when he's here, so I'd like to,
My
Keep him happy.
confusion on that, Mark, so only at $434 spent?
yeah, that's gotta be something wrong with that,
Yeah,
because
he worked a
we
lot.
worked him quite a lot last winter.
Yeah,
So we think that might be an error?
It was after January. If it was before January, it wouldn't be in this budget.
No, it was after January.
Yeah, so it might not have been booked right. I'll look into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right, it must have come out of the wrong line.
Yeah, because if you said he worked a lot this year, 434 certainly makes
Yeah.
no sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no way that's right, that's,
Okay.
Yep, I agree, that's not right. That's usually Bob does all the numbers for the salaries and stuff, so I don't pay that much attention to it.
Yeah, and he does some.
you see him I see him out every storm,
Yeah.
so this-
So I assume your winter season is your busy season, and he allows you to buffer
Yep.
that additional load.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's what you see as the big things that you wanted to
Mm-hmm.
bring to our attention? Does anyone, you just brought up 120, anyone else have a line they'd like to ask a question about, or an issue they would like to,
I just wanted to
Where-
clarify on one thing too.
go ahead, Christine.
You had questioned the line painting machine, so I just went back, when when Mark submitted his budget originally, it was $5,000 in new equipment. So he had lowered that line, so instead it's been moved to $10,000, and that's for the new equipment. So that's why you don't really see an increase from last year's budget to this year's budget.
You were looking at an increase from what you had planned on,
Yeah.
asking this year. Correct.
Mark, contracted landscaping, is that, what's that?
I believe that was,
No.
the part-time guy we were gonna hire for Kelly Park, that we never found anybody to fill that position to help out with the watering of the flowers and weeding and whatnot at Kelly Park. Am I correct?
I don't know.
I thought
What line was that?
So contract, it's
it's for 349.
And it hasn't been spent the last 2 years. That's the one you focused on, right?
Yeah,
We
yeah.
found lawn care is paid out of the
Kelly Park section.
Kelly Park and General Government
Yeah.
budget.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the guy. We intended to hire a part-time guy for a few hours a week to help out with the watering of the flowers. The volunteers were asking for extra help from us, so, and we never found anybody to fill the position.
So I can tell you that there is a line in the Kelly Park
Yeah,
budget,
for this.
and we talked about it with Les,
Mhm.
and we know that it was budgeted for this year, but they didn't find anyone to hire.
Yeah.
She said she was more optimistic, and she's asked for the money again, but
Mhm.
that money is in the Kelly
Yeah.
Park section of the budget. So
I'm lost
do
now,
you, do you,
so. I don't know.
Do you want to get back to us?
I
If
can.
there's another purpose other than that? 'Cause
If you go-
it does seem like a dual purpose. We're
Yeah.
already spending
If you
essentially
go
money
back
for that
to
same purpose.
2019, it was 18,000.
correct?
Yeah,
No, the 18,000, wasn't that the snow removal amount?
no, that's the next
On
line.
line
That's
349.
350, that's plowing
349.
services.
Yeah, it's in there for $18,050 in 2019.
So we
We'd have to look that up.
I don't know what the expended amount was.
that's
Oh, no, that is the
actually-
expended.
That's the expended amount. In 2019, that's what was expended. I can go back and look and see what it was expended for in 2019. And I went back and checked Mark's notes for what we submitted at the beginning of the year, and there's not a note on it, but we can go back and check last year.
So a question for you gentlemen. Are you asking him if he needs $1,000 at all if Les gets the position?
Correct, because
Yes.
we have funded
Got it.
the other position.
Yeah, no, I don't need that. Yeah.
So would you, or I don't know, maybe I should ask the committee, but I'll ask you. I think we're looking where we can to make cuts.
Yep.
So would you be okay with us zeroing that out, or do you want to?
Yep, that's fine.
And then if you decide at a later date that that was a mistake and you need the money, get back to us and we will reconsider. But I think we'd like to zero that out at
Yep.
this meeting today.
That would be fine. And I still want to figure out what was spent on 2 years ago.
Perfect.
Make a motion to reduce 4311-349 to $0.
Second. So we have a motion to amend line 349 from 1,000 to 0, made by Rob, seconded by me. Any discussion, or do we want to go right to a vote? Yes.
If the position isn't filled, someone's still gonna have to fill it.
But we can probably use that money flexibly in the Kelly Park budget too, right?
But if you've got the money to hire the part-time person in the Kelly Park budget, and now you need to come up with a few dollars because you didn't hire someone, you've got all the money you were planning to pay the part-time person. That's how I look at it.
And that's movable that way,
The-
out of Kelly Park into Highway Department?
Well, he's talking about this is for Kelly Park anyways.
That's,
The contracted landscaping is paid for other properties in general government. So we'd have to look and see what this was spent on in 2019. But we have Newfound Lawn Care booked in general government for landscaping, and then Kelly Park pays for their landscaping separate.
It's not actually the landscaping. He does the
Okay.
weed control and fertilizer.
I look at this as if you were gonna hire Acme Lawn Landscaping and pay them $1,000
Yep.
to do something.
Well,
Is it possible to change that to $1? Then if something happens, then he's got the flexibility to do that.
I'll make a motion to amend my,
and I seconded it, so I'll agree. We'll change it to 1.
good call.
We're okay with that, Walter. We'll change it from 1,000 to 1 instead of to 0. Any other discussion? Okay, I'm gonna call a vote. We're gonna vote on the motion to amend line 349 contracted landscaping to the new amount of $1. All in favor? Aye. With 6-0 passes. All right. Other questions? I
Yeah,
had something, but I keep going. Go ahead.
on 350 contracted plowing service, just, what is that for, Mark?
We use that to do the municipal parking lot at the post office. We've just found over the years, it's easier for us to get the contractor that does the post office to do that little parking lot rather than us messing around in there. So we've contracted that little lot out for quite a number of years. We end up being in each other's way mostly, so.
So Mark, I just would like to better understand line 433, which is radio repairs and batteries.
Mhm.
So according to this, and I know there's still time in the year, but we authorized $1,200 last year, we spent none, and you're asking for another $1,200 this year. Is that new radios? Is that just batteries for existing radios? Is that, I guess part I'm asking is, I know like for the fire department, they wanted new radios and it was like a one-time purchase but spread over 3 years. It's not just like an every year type of thing.
It's for maintenance of the current radios. If we have to buy a new one, we would, but currently the radio that's in my truck, if I get past D'Angelo Road going towards the lake, I can't, if I go any further than that, I can't talk to anybody downtown.
Okay,
So we have issues with the radios,
okay.
and that's what the money is for repairs.
So you're thinking of upgrading, getting a new radio so you have better coverage?
I'd just soon have the guy come in and fix what we got.
Okay. So what I'm hearing you say is you really think that that's not something we should consider cutting.
Right, we need something there.
I wasn't planning to propose to go to zero, but I was hoping we could.
I currently have a
go
call
lower.
into them.
Okay.
I would been like 3
I'm
weeks
okay
and they
with
haven't
that.
call me back, of course.
As I say, I wouldn't,
We
know
have a lot of that.
business and how that works when those issues come up, I wouldn't touch that line.
Okay,
Can any of that be encumbered? Can you get him to commit to,
If I can get him here to look at them now, and which I've been trying to do.
I'd have to have that by Thursday.
that's plenty of time.
Sure.
Throwing cold water on the man here.
Line 570, equipment rental.
Yep.
Is that for something that, we have something that breaks, but we need a piece of equipment right now, you go out and rent it? Is that what that's for?
Exactly, it's
If
in
something
case
breaks.
we need something, yes.
Okay.
Or something unique that we don't have. We could rent it and
And that just gives you some needed flexibility.
yes.
I think that's all the questions that I had. Anyone else? Are we ready to move the amended bottom line? I'll give you another minute to look, but
Mark, is it next year that your truck would be replaced? Because your truck is older than
Yes,
Victor's truck.
it's scheduled for 2023.
It is.
It's in the CIP for 2023.
but to your point, it doesn't come out of your operating budget, it comes out of the capital fund, so.
That list from last, oh, you didn't get this, Tammy.
No, I didn't get that.
You have to look at that.
But aren't you impressed? I remember.
Huh?
Aren't you impressed? See, now I get it
Okay,
right.
so-
Now I get it right.
So I think that I'm not hearing any more questions or comments or motions to amend, so I'm going to call a vote on the amended bottom line for the Highway Department, section 4311, in the amended amount of $713,139. All in favor, say, and raise a hand.
Aye.
6 yeses, so I don't need to call the noes and the abstains, that passes. And now we will go to the next section, which I assume is.
I'll make a motion to move 4312 highway projects in amount of $360,000.
Second, so we have a motion by Charlie, seconded by Paul, to move the bottom line of the highway projects, section 4312. Mark, again, we'll defer to you to start, anything you want, any last minute changes you want, or anything you want to bring to our attention and explain before we start asking questions?
I'll just touch on the drainage projects. That's for replacement of storm drains. Seems like every time we're turning around, there's a new section somewhere that's collapsing and falling apart. A lot of galvanized pipe that was put in the ground back in the 80s that's failing now.
Hitting its age.
So, some of the places, Ellen Lane, we had to replace 100 feet of pipe up there this year. Beach Street is acting up just recently. And we still got some bad pipe on 4th Street. And I'm sure there's others that we just don't know about yet. Till a big hole opens up.
Live an exciting life.
Road resurfacing, it's just what it is.
Right.
I don't know if you printed that out, but I have a list for the next 5 years. This year, it would be Smith River Road, Bristol Hill Road, these are just overlays. Mountain Hill Profile Falls Road, we based that this past year. I'd like to top that. And Hall Road is on there to put the top on Hall Road.
I thought Fall Road was.
Because we just put the binder down on Hall Road this year. It was late in the year. We didn't have enough money to do the top anyways. The money had been encumbered for 3 years
That's what I was gonna say. I
as
thought
part of
about-
the sewer project or something like that, so. We also had almost $80,000 that came in, that was COVID money or something. And we've encumbered that to add to the top for Hall Road, so it's not gonna impact our 300,000 too much here.
It's specific to highway projects, it can't be spent on anything else but highway projects, so that's what we were planning to offset this budget for you.
Okay, so I was thinking that last year was, resurfacing was 360 and this year it's 300, but you've got some other monies coming from other places, so the amount of
Correct.
activity will be pretty
Right.
relatively
We-
level. We're not cutting back.
Right,
so
we
much.
would like to keep it at the 300,000 level if we can. It doesn't always work that way. We want to do the whole street and not leave 100 feet at the end of someplace, so that's why there's a little fluctuation there. But fortunately, I think this COVID money is gonna give us a good boost this year on the surface.
Excellent. That's
And
it.
then the chip sealing,
You doing more of it or just?
Yeah,
the
we're gonna
stuff that's more
do-
expensive?
it's, the chip seal, we'd like to put that on before the pavement gets too bad. It's a pavement preservation technique, it's about a third the cost of an overlay. And it'll extend the life of the pavement 5-7 years, so it's, I believe it's worth it. It has to be done to a road that is in still good profile. You can't put it over something that's real, we did on Upper Birch Drive and it just, that was a disaster. But if you go into Camelot Acres or Hemp Hill Road, Willamette Road, we've done some out here, Oak Crest, Genesee Lane, where the pavement was still good, we chip seal them, it looks just like fresh blacktop.
Oh, okay.
Smith River was the first one you did. Smith River was the first
Yeah.
one you did, and
Yeah.
that turned out really well.
Yeah, and that bought us,
It was like 7 years.
that's probably 10 years on that one.
I don't really have any questions or any desire to change the numbers. How about other people on the committee? We want to go ahead and vote on the bottom line? All right, I'll call a vote on the bottom line for the highway project, section 4312, in the amount of $360,000. All in favor? Aye. That's 6, that passes. Okay, next, Charlie, you want to?
I'll make a motion to move 4319 streets and bridges at an amount of $35,500.
Anyone else want to second that, or?
Second.
We got Rob first. So motion from Charlie, seconded by Rob, to move the bottom line on streets and bridges, 4319, the amount of $35,500. Looks like it's level funded. Is there much to say about this?
This is still us kind of putting the same amount of money for the LED upgrade.
Yes,
That
that's
hopes to save money in the future.
correct. We gotta pay the contract.
So a couple of years from now, this should go down. if it's not
Right,
there.
Christina has some more information on that LED lighting and whatnot, if that's, if
Yeah.
she'd like to.
So we have a 5-year lease payment and we've just located the information on. So that will come out of that line. We're gonna encumber the rest of it to pay towards that lease payment, and then next year, we should be able to see a little bit more savings hopefully, so. There's a new program they're trying to also put us in that's called tariff dimming with Eversource, and so we may also see some additional cost savings with that program, because as the lights dim over the night, there are certain times of night, once Eversource is able to determine they agree with that data, then they'll put us in this program and we'll only be paying for the usage and not, right now we're paying for what's called the farmer's almanac, so the time it starts to the time it ends, and we're paying regardless if we use it or not. Right
Okay.
now, so.
Sounds good, but it doesn't sound like there's an opportunity to change anything in this proposed 23 budget.
Just for a piece of information, the first electric bill we got after the LEDs went in was $400, and we had paid the month before, it was $2,100 or something like that for streetlights. So it was a drastic drop in the price, but we still now have to pay for the installation. and-
Right, the
and
folks who put
purchase.
the
new
But,
lights
but the electric bill went way down.
It's gone up to about 1,100. We're still seeing a huge savings though, obviously, but the lease payment is $22,000, so.
Okay,
And that same 20,000, if we didn't do the upgrade, would be 30-something thousand that we'd be spending anyways.
yeah, I mean, when we said we were gonna do the project, it made sense to me. It sounded like it was no question that it was a good investment. We just gotta pay the cost of the lights installations before we can see the operating savings.
Mark, the bridges line, 430.
Yep.
Is that, if we drop that to $1, is it?
Well, we use that if, because we have to keep them posted, you know, the E2 signs or whatever.
Yeah.
And we need something there if something happens and we gotta do a quick repair to the bridge.
Yeah, look at somebody gets.
Or somebody breaks a piece of railing on one of the bridges and we have to, really have to have something there.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of bridges, fortunately, but
Okay. Anyone else? Nope, okay, I will call the vote on the bottom line for Streets and Bridges, section 4319, the amount of $35,500. All in favor?
I,
6, we are, it is approved.
I'll make a motion to move 4324, solid waste disposal, at an amount of $379,453.
Second.
So we have a motion from Charlie, seconded by Carol, for the bottom line of solid waste disposal, 4324. We will, Mark, any last minute changes or things you want to bring to our attention?
just perhaps the idea of the lead attendant, I think we talked about that at our original meeting.
Yep.
We've advertised for that job, I've got one application, so we're not, there's not, nobody beating the door down to come to work
So you
for
have
us.
no
at the-
application?
You don't actually have the money until town meeting in March.
Right, so it's not hurting us, so.
Okay.
But, I had the compactor serviced a couple of weeks ago. We found I guess it's just a brace that supports the center of one of the rams has rusted and broke, and there's coming to do that repair. I think eventually, another year or two, we're gonna need to consider replacing that one Packer. It's getting in pretty tough shape. Oh, that's new to you guys.
Yeah.
Cycle. Imagine that'd be more of a capital purchase anyway, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Question
Yeah,
on.
go ahead, I got a few too, so.
364, Freon removal.
Yep.
Big increase in, well, looks like it's fluctuated over the years.
Yeah, it depends on how many Freon units we come in, and it just seems like lately, at the end of every heating season, there's hundreds of air conditioners that come in. And I just don't, it appears that people take them out of their windows and throw them away.
It's the garbage.
So we have to deal with the Freon that comes out.
Well,
of them.
that's the one of the biggest problems now is appliances instead of lasting 20 years, they last 5 years.
Yep.
It's not just air conditioners, it's everything.
So the question, to follow up on Rob's, I guess for a couple of these lines, like metals and construction and tires and Freon and, is it reasonable to expect that we're charging fees so we've got revenue here, we're trying to
We
run
are.
these
There
things at a
is-
zero. So even though we're showing expenses here, that the net cost to the town should be minimal, right?
Right, there's
Okay.
a charge for C&D. It's not an accurate thing right now, it's all
Don't have a-
estimates.
Yeah.
Tires, we're pretty good on tires. We know exactly what we pay to get rid of them, so we charge accordingly. the Freon units, you never have any idea how many coming in. Recently, we started saving and baling aluminum cans. I think we've shipped 5 bales so far since this summer. They're averaging around 600 pounds a bale. We're getting 35 to 45 cents a pound. So there's a little revenue coming in from that. The scrap metal goes out, we get paid for all of that. So there is quite a lot of offsetting revenue when I don't have all that.
Well, I don't
Your
have.
Freon, you've collected
I have
almost
an end of
$3,000.
October.
Go ahead, what was that,
As of the end
Christine?
of October, as of the end of October, it was $130,449. That was the end of October, that's the last.
That's the
report.
total of all the income from the
Under
solid waste transfer station?
Yep. And so obviously that's the end of October, so November and December aren't included in that.
So I guess where I was going with this, just, I think I'm talking to the committee more than I am to you, is that I look at this and I'm like, okay, but I don't have enough expertise or knowledge to second guess the numbers. As long as I've got assurances that you and the rest of the town staff are managing this such that you're charging enough fees to cover the town's expenses,
Yeah.
I would rather not second guess you on the
Right.
details of
The
exactly
only
what you're
one that
doing.
would be a big question would be C&D, because we have the attendants estimating how much is coming in. That would be a perfect spot for a set of scales, and then we could charge exactly.
But we'd have to
what
make
we
enough
receive.
additional income to pay for the
Right.
scale, which is not
Right,
inconsequential.
a scale would be expensive, and you'd have to have a certified
Yeah.
weighmaster, and it's just
I guess what
gets
I'm saying is
complicated.
I think we're gonna
Certified
let the
every
guesses.
year. and-
Cardboard recycling, we started that a year ago. This year, we've shipped 3 trailer loads of cardboard. The first 2 went out at around $145 a ton. The last load that went out was right at $40 a ton, so the price has really gone to pieces on
Wait,
that.
you said the first 2 were 145 and the
Yeah.
third one was 40?
Yeah,
Wow, the bottom fell out of that baby.
yep.
That's what keeps happening to recycling programs as a general rule. That's why they're giving up often, because the money just falls out.
Yeah,
But if we've already bought the skid steer and the compactor, it doesn't make sense to stop. We still have the avoidance of the
well,
tickets.
being paid $40 a ton is still better than paying $90 a ton.
That's
to get
exactly
rid of
what I
the
was trying to
incinerator.
say,
Right.
is even if it doesn't make, we can't go back and change the fact, since we have the
And the
equipment.
biggest
we
thing
can't
for
keep
us is the room in the compactor boxes on the weekend, so we don't overfill, because we're pulling that cardboard out. The cardboard doesn't pack well in those boxes.
Okay.
How is the lead attendant gonna be used?
He will take care of the scheduling, all the correspondence with our vendors, mostly Northeast Resource Recovery. They do most of our brokering. He'd attend the meetings of the co-op and be our solid waste, our household hazardous waste coordinator.
So he is more working on days when we're not open?
Right, we figured the hours, so he would have 6 hours of non-operation time that he would be available to work.
He would work all the time when it's open, plus 6 hours to get the admin stuff done.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And the top, that number is the top of the bracket that is being offered, so if the person that is selected doesn't have all of the background that's required, that number could be lowered. We just don't know right now.
Gotcha.
Do we still have the agreement with Hebron residents?
Yes,
Christina, where would I see the revenue from that?
Let me look.
Should be on the revenue
I
page.
don't have the revenue page.
I have the revenue
have to call
page.
It's
it.
not under solid waste.
Or call out as a separate.
What page you seen, solid, what, even the November 3rd
We're
one?
looking at revenues.
He's looking at the revenue report to try to figure out how much we're charging Hebron, so that,
November 3rd, or?
I don't think that's recorded, Mark. Don't they just show the, card on their dash?
They do pay a check to us though.
The town gives the town of Bristol a check, and I think it's
Right.
around $30,000 a year.
So
Yeah, I
30,
think so.
35, something.
Yeah.
Isn't it 7,500 a quarter or something like that?
That'd be 30.
But I don't see it on this list. Well, I don't see where it would be.
Cause that, well, I'm just, the only reason I bring it up, cause that's an additional revenue offset too.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the 110 and 220 lines. So Charlie asked about the new lead attendant, which is line 110. But on the second, so I don't go that often, but you have three, right now we have 3 people working there, right?
Yes,
Whenever it's open. And now, if the new system, under the new system, you'll have the lead attendant plus 2 other people.
right.
So I'm thinking that the line 120 should basically just have to pay for 2 people to work instead of 3, and the change is not, so we budgeted 69,000 this year, we've already spent 76, and you're asking for 70, but I was kinda hoping it would be like 2/3 of that number.
There are actually 6 employees at the transfer station.
But
They
the
don't all work at the same time.
But so I guess what I'm saying though is, so right now, the transfer station is open 3 days a week for, what, 6 hours a day for 18 hours roughly?
It's open 9 hours Monday and Wednesday and 8 on Saturdays.
Okay, so 18, so 26. So you got 26 operating hours a week, and you've got 3 people every hour that it's open.
We have,
So you've got 3 times 26, you're paying that many person hours a week to operate it. And in the new year, it'll be the lead operator and 2 people times that 26 is what I'm expecting. So obviously, I'm asking you to explain why what I'm expecting is not what's happening.
You don't have just 3 working all the time.
right,
That's
we
more.
have the brush dump guy that also works there, and he has to be there. Currently, we use him occasionally to help with the baling of cardboard, but during the summer when the lower end is open, he's down there.
So you have a 4th person on site. That's, so I'm thinking too simple. It's more complicated than I'm thinking.
No, but
That's
this
why-
has to be an increase in staff hours, there's no way it's not.
But right now, you pay for all of the labor to operate the transfer station on line 120. And now some of that labor's kind of come off of line 110. So I was saying I'm expecting 120 to go down. And we've already spent 76,000 this year, you're asking for 70, it is going down. It just didn't go as much as I expected, and you're saying because you're only thinking about the 3 people up top, you got other things going on that you got people coming in for, Paul, you're not taking that into account.
Paul, excuse me, did we talk about somewhere along the line that there might be an expectation, one of the 2, that one person would sort of drop out of this list of people that work there? So you'd have your lead foreman and one of the existing positions and still staying at 2, 3 total up top and not going to 4 total up top when it's open?
We were talking about that, yes.
So we have 6 currently. We talked about reducing it by 1 to 2 potentially. So we would drop it down to 4 with the lead. Is what we've talked about.
When the transfer station's open,
Yeah.
But
that includes the bottom, or is that only the top?
So this is getting confusing because we're talking about 2 different things. What Christina, I'm hearing what Christina is saying is, of the hours that we have to operate the
The top.
facility, we need so many people, and we have a pool of 6 people to assign those hours to. I personally don't really care about that. I care about how many hours we're paying for. Whether you have those hours spread over 20 people, or 6 people, or 3 people, doesn't change how much it costs the town in my mind. So that's something that I trust you to manage and handle,
Yep.
and I don't want to get into that.
Right.
My understanding is that with the new lead attendant, the number of people there stay the same, but instead of having 3 part-time workers, you basically got the lead attendant and 2 other workers.
That's our hope, yes.
That's the way it
That's how
was
it would
explained
work.
in the past that
Yes.
I heard you explain it. So Having said all,
Therefore, you would expect one of those lines to decrease, is what you're saying?
I expected line 120 to decrease by more. And what I heard was, yeah, but you're not thinking about the other workers I have on site that are not up top at the transfer station doing other things. And I don't know if it all adds up, but I don't really want you to give me a spreadsheet explaining exactly how many hours exactly is going on. I just want to keep this top level, and so I'm saying I'm satisfied with your answers. I really want to stop talking.
Saying okay.
Okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Is there any reason we couldn't promote one of the existing people to a lead operator and add 6 hours a week into the schedule?
We have offered the opportunity to all of them to apply for the position, and currently we've had none of them
Oh,
apply
okay.
to step up.
We actually met with all of them and let them know what the opportunity was and encouraged them to apply. When we left the meeting, 2 were supposed to apply. And you,
Okay to move to another subject.
Oh, I'm enjoying this one.
I'm not, and I started it. So let me move on to 550. Just so last year we provided $500, and this year you're asking for $1,000. What's the big increase in
Which line was that?
550 printing?
We've been, with all the changing in the recycling with the aluminum cans and the glass and the cardboard, using the print shop a little more to make up the, what do they call it, the corrugated plastic signs. We still have a lot of issues with contamination in our recyclables, and it's one of those hard things to do. You put up all the signs and people don't read them, and
They don't care.
No, they don't.
and
Okay, so-
that affects the price we get paid for the cardboard. It affects everything if it's contaminated.
That makes sense to me. So part of the reason it's a little confusing is, and maybe again, this is something you want to look into, supposedly your printing costs so far this year are 0. So the fact that you were asking to go from 500 to 1,000
Well,
is.
that can't be true because we've had a whole
That's
bunch
what
of
you
stuff
just,
printed.
that's what you just told me, but I'm telling you the report that we were given
Right.
says it's 0.
So that's something else we'll have to look into and see where that was charged.
Gotcha. Okay, see that?
Yep.
Help explain. And then, again, simply because it.
So it might be material and supplies is overspent. It might be there.
That's where
Yeah, it very well could be.
Yeah.
Right, so material and supplies, you have, this year you have $1,500 approved. Supposedly you've already spent $4,200 and you're asking for $2,500, so that one seems kind of a crazy line, but. And the same type of thing for maintenance and repairs, you got $5,000 this year, you spent $7,700 and you're asking for $10,000, so.
Yeah, you never know what's gonna break.
Right. And then new equipment, you asked for 1,000 last year, and this year you're asking for 5,000. So
Yep.
is that one big piece of new equipment? or is
Right,
that
we wanna
other
replace
things?
one dumpster.
You wanna replace a dumpster.
Oh, in new equipment?
Yeah.
Okay,
Paul,
go ahead,
I'm gonna throw this out there.
go ahead.
Kinda wanna see the lead attendant line, that increase go to a warrant. Any thoughts on that?
We're gonna get Mr. Barnes over here.
We're not Charlie.
Charlie had this idea last.
for full-time though.
Oh, right.
So this is
This is not a full-time person.
This is not, 32 hours.
32 hours per week, which is, so there's no retirement, there's no
Nope.
health care.
What my problem is I know we certainly have issues to deal with at solid waste. We've had problems with essentially like making sure people have permits and that things get done at the administrative level that need to get done.
So
And I want those administrative things to get done.
Making sure the dumpsters get.
I don't think we need to have, it was nice for the selectmen to go out and have a stand to sell stickers, but I don't think that should happen. I really think a lead attendant, someone that is really in charge at more of administrative level, is highly needed.
I'm gonna say, Rob, my thought is kind of, if it were new, if it was an additional new 32 hours that we weren't working now, I would seriously consider supporting the idea that we ask the town voters to approve significantly increasing labor costs. But in this case, we're taking 26 of those 32 hours out of line 120. So the increased hours on line 110, the net increase of hours is not significant. And now instead of having just a group of part-time employees doing the work that needs to be done, you're gonna have a lead attendant who should be coordinating things. What I've heard in the past Mark say is he's hopeful that the transfer station operation is gonna become more efficient with someone clearly in charge, and that has some appeal to me.
Yeah, me too. I think someone-
That is on site.
Yeah, on site,
Right.
in charge, like you're the boss type thing, yeah.
Right.
Can you get him to speed up the summer rhythms?
So,
Just a question, that's all, I'm not.
from this side of the room, you guys have any thoughts or comments, or?
I think, what's missing here is people who are pushing these issues do not stand down there and watch exactly how much time is put into the cardboard. There's a lot, it's all labor. I mean, yeah, we bought a machine, which will be depreciated on a higher level, but no one's standing down there saying, Jesus, we really spend a lot of labor dollars on lead one. That's all I'll say.
Here's what
It's-
I don't care about this, I care about this. So if that
Well,
$32,000
none of us can read
can
what you're
increase
handing out
this,
there.
then let's vote.
So we picked up, I think, 25 people without stickers when we set up our stand. We were only there 3
But,
hours.
yeah, 3 hours, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I really think we need someone in charge, that is like,
That will come in the morning and say, you're checking stickers today,
Yeah.
stand over there.
Yeah.
Or you're checking cardboard today, you stand there all day.
Yeah.
Instead of, as soon as I go down the road to wherever we're working, they all go in the sheds and drink their coffee and whatever else they do.
But that's very true. Mark should not be.
Mark,
In-
we don't want Mark B doing that.
No.
That is not a good use of his time.
You're
I agree with
waiting,
that.
you're,
Let's get paid.
you're paying someone.
I think we're in pretty much agreement, and I guess, what I think I heard Rob say, and I'll say it again, is I think you're doing this, but I wanna stress that if the revenues are not covering the expenses, we want to encourage you to work with the select board to raise the fee rates.
And I'll let you know.
You're probably doing that already, so you don't need my encouragement, but I'll say it for the record anyway.
Yeah, we work pretty well with Northeast Resource Recovery Association. They're our broker for most of this stuff. And they keep tabs on across the whole state, and we get a report every quarter or so. So we have a pretty good idea if we're falling behind somewhere.
Okay.
So, one quick question, this is kind of outside of the budget, just a curiosity thing. Looking at buying a truck possibly down the road?
That has been talked about between water, sewer, and us.
Yeah.
We have occasional issues with our hauling company not performing up to snuff.
Yeah.
Whether it's efficient for us, we really haven't decided to own our own truck.
Yeah.
We have people on staff that can drive and all that stuff. It's not a matter of hiring somebody to drive the truck. We have people on staff that are capable. It's a matter of efficiency.
Cost versus benefit.
Yeah. A roll-off truck, roadworthy, is a big expense.
$250,000.
So it's
And I
something you're
think that-
considering, but it's not in this budget proposal, it's not something we have to consider right now.
But the select board, just to tie that around, the select board did talk about it, and not only that, but it gives these guys the flexibility of when they need to move something, right now, they don't have to call somebody to come up and do it.
Right, currently,
If something happens and all of a sudden they gotta move something, it's overfilled or it's busy or whatever.
I'll give you an example on Thanksgiving weekend. They call us up, we're not working Thursday and Friday, or Thursday and Friday, so we wanna empty you guys on Wednesday. Well, Wednesday we're open. So I said, that would be fine, but you need to come after 3 o'clock in the afternoon, after we've been open all day. The guy shows up at 8 in the morning and hauls a load that's only got 3 tons in it. Puts it back on all day. Wednesday we're open. Saturday morning everything's full again, and I had to come in and swap cans with the front loader because they didn't follow through on what they had agreed to. That's some of our issues we have with the hauling company.
And at that point, there's no one there that can
Yeah.
say, you can't haul right
The
now.
hauling company goes down to Pennacook, and there's a line of trucks waiting to dump, and they have to wait more than 15 minutes, they start billing us $95 an hour. When this Thanksgiving Day thing happened, I wanted to bill them for my time coming in with the loader and changing the box. They had nothing to do with that, not our fault. So,
Thanks, Paul, sorry.
That's
Sorry.
okay.
Thank you.
I just, I know you're looking into it, but it's not something we need to deal with right now,
right.
so I'm gonna.
Yep, okay, good.
All right, anything else
Question.
on, go ahead, another question?
No, move for question.
Okay, I'm gonna move the bottom line question on solid waste. So we're gonna vote on, we did not make any amendments, we're gonna vote on the bottom line of solid waste disposal, section 4324, in the amount of $379,453, which is unamended. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We have 6 yeses, that passes. I assume it's 5 next.
Yeah, made a motion to move fire betterment 4339-413, the amount of $10,000.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion from Rob, seconded by Charlie, to move the bottom line on fire betterment, section 4339. This
Can we-
isn't you, is it?
Go.
Move to Jeff. He's online,
Oh, okay.
if you have questions.
This is just,
Hi, Jeff.
can we just go?
So before, Jeff, I don't think there's really any questions here, right? This is something
No.
we've dealt with in the past, it's level funded. Unless anyone objects, we'll just move the bottom line question and move to the next section.
Yep.
Okay, so we're gonna vote on the bottom line for fire betterment, section 4339, in the amount of 10,000, all in favor?
Aye.
6, it passes. And we're done with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
And now we will move on to,
Sewer, which starts on page 22.
thank you, I'm working on it.
We usually do surplus transfer second or third in the process.
Okay, why don't we do,
Do you want to open up in sewer operations?
that's
Would
what
that
I,
make sense?
that's what I listed.
Yeah. So I'll make a motion to move sewer operations 4326 at an amount of $498,000, 575. So it's 498, 575.
Right, can I get a second?
Second.
So we have a motion from Charlie, seconded by Carol, to move the bottom line of sewer operations, section 05-4326. Jeff, are you with us?
I am.
Excellent, we can hear you, we don't see anything, so not a problem, we can hear you. I'm gonna do the same thing, I'm gonna ask you any last minute changes or any lines that you wanna bring to our attention before we start asking questions.
Okay. Did highlight a few of them. Safety boots, I did have an increase on that, went to 125 boot allowance, and also added a 6th pair for the new employee.
Line 293.
I'm sorry, I have not.
293.
Oh, safety boots, okay,
293, I'm sorry.
okay,
Try to call the numbers. And that'll follow the same over the water budget there.
when we get there, okay.
Line 344 is the internet. There's an increase that I just, based on what we've spent this past year.
Okay,
Line 370, sludge disposal. That's up a little bit. 2/3 of that is actually trucking costs. You heard Mark talking about the roll-off. That's something we're looking into with him based on what we are spending for trucking cost. The composting fee is only 1/3 of that amount. I'd really like to look at a better way to handle the sludge. 391. We have a new contract for our billing software and meter reading, so that's up a little bit. 410 electricity. That's up with the rate increase. Also up with heating fuel, 411. I think that's, as far as operational, those are the highlights. I could step back to capital projects at the beginning, the 4325.
yeah, no, that's a different section, let's stick on 4326 for the moment and close,
Okay.
and close that out before we go back to capital and then surplus.
Okay.
So did we just hire either a full-time or part-time employee in one of these vacant positions? Is that what I heard?
Yeah, I put in for a position. Last year we didn't fill it. We actually had a guy retire, we filled his position. So, I'm still looking to hire somebody. We got a few of us that are looking to retire soon, so I'd like to get somebody in and trained prior to that.
So you're still hoping to follow through with the plan that we had? We just had someone retire and the person that is just filling that position, okay.
Yeah.
So, I'll ask my question, which is 410 electricity. Oh, this is sewer, so how much is the solar array sewer impacting the electricity line? Is that flowing through yet, or is that still not really changing your operational costs?
With the solar, we really just agreed to buy power from them rather than our Constellation.
Right?
Something that we had been, so shifted that cost from one provider to the other. There's supposed to be a savings, however, on the distribution of that, because instead of using it from the grid, we're actually using it on site. So that's where we'll see a savings, and we anticipated a $3,000 savings in the first year. However, as you know, the increase in electricity has kind of thrown that out of whack.
So this was hoping to go to 61 essentially, but with increased costs, it's gone to 80. Is what he's saying.
Okay. But is the price we're paying the solar operator for electricity somehow indexed to a market rate or an Eversource rate? Because I would have thought we had negotiated like a flat rate, and now when Eversource takes big increases, we wouldn't be subject to that. But maybe I'm getting too much into the woods.
We are locked in with a solar company, and I think it started out roughly 9 cents with a 1% increase annually for the next 20 years or so. Anything that we don't use, anything that we have to pull from the grid that's not provided by the solar, we now have to buy that from Eversource. So I think that's around 22 cents. We're getting our new contract with Constellation, and that's about 15 cents kilowatt, is what I understand. From the original, we were paying, I don't know, right around 8 or 9 cents a kilowatt
Right.
on our last contract with Constellation this past year.
Oh, okay. 80 it is.
Sorry.
Yeah, I can be as disappointed as I want, it doesn't really change the facts, so, okay.
It sounded like in the sales pitch for this, it was gonna be much better than that.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was, that's why I was asking, and
Yes.
then after I asked, I realized I'm really getting in more into the operational details than I really like to, but I guess I'm asking as much as the taxpayer as anything, I thought it was gonna be a bigger savings, but
Well, it's
it
probably,
is what it is.
it's a good question to know the answer to though,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, but if a town meeting I'm gonna ask me, I'm gonna point at the select board, I'm not gonna answer that.
We do get some costs back in revenue though, don't we? With the solar project?
I don't, are you talking about the credit that we get from Freedom?
Is that the net metering?
That's something to do with all services from the town, all the electrical services. From each of the building, I think there's some rebate that we get. I'm not quite sure how that's set up. That's something that Paul Bemis and Nick got into, and they, Paul could probably explain it a lot better. I can guess at it.
We'll have to get to
When you run a surplus in sewer, what ends up happening to those funds?
The surplus would then be, that first line in our budget is that surplus line, and anything in that, any revenues that I receive beyond what I've budgeted to spend, I plan on budgeting to move those monies into our capital reserve.
Okay, so it gets free use of future capital reserve projects. Okay,
Correct.
for the sewer, for the water.
Correct?
Where those funds are coming from those ratepayers. Got it.
Yes, yeah.
So it's not a lot of money, but I went the wrong way, sorry. I wanted to ask about the paving line, which is line 361. We haven't, according to our reports, we haven't spent any money in the past 3 years. We asked for 1,500, haven't spent any, you asked for 1,500 again. Is it, what paving are you doing, and is that money really needed in the budget?
I think, we just look down into the water.
So the last time you paid in water was 2020, but in 2021 and 22, you didn't pay out of it in water either. So it's more correct to say it hasn't been spent the last 2 years.
Okay.
Because it looks like in just 2020, instead of probably having it split between water and sewer, it was just placed into water. But you're right, it hasn't been spent the last 2 years.
Well, there's
It's more
another
correct to
10,000
say.
water capital, so.
I think
Oh,
usually when we do patch a hole, we have the highway help us out, but I thought we were buying the pavement when they go down and get it. I'll have to follow up, make sure that was applied to the correct line, or should be.
okay, so you're gonna follow up. So he's gonna follow up on the paving line for you.
Okay. And to Mark's point, there are actually lines in both the sewer capital and water capital for paving. So, I guess the whole question of paving, but If you can look into that, we'd appreciate it.
Jeff,
I
I'm gonna
think
say.
it was
What
Bob.
did I say?
You
Okay.
said Mark.
Rob. I think you meant to say Rob's point.
I don't know what I said, but I obviously said it wrong, so
Yeah.
thank you for correcting me. Can't read and talk at the same time.
It's hard to be in the chair, isn't it?
All right, any other members of the committee have a question? Or is there any desire to propose an amendment? Okay, I don't think so either. So I think we are ready to move the bottom line on sewer operations. Not hearing any objections, we will do so. We will now vote on the bottom line of the sewer operations, section 05-4326, in the amount of $498,575. All in favor, say aye. Raise a
Aye.
hand. I had 6 hands, so we are, sewer operations is approved. Jeff, not so much a budgeting thing, I'm asking this as much as a user of the system. What's your expectation on rates and revenues? Are your rates going, you expect that they're fine where they are? Are we gonna see another increase? We're gonna be level for the foreseeable future? Can you answer that?
I think there'll be a slight increase, nothing like we've seen the past couple of years. We had some pretty high percentages, even though it wasn't much on the dollar amount. The percentage, I think, was 12%, which seems like a lot, but when the dollar amount's so low, it really wasn't too bad. The biggest thing is the expense that we're having with materials. It's gone a little crazy, so I don't know. I'm hoping that those come down, because we're gonna have to do some adjustment on our fees in order to cover those costs.
Okay, so the cost of pipe and other things to keep the system
Yes.
running, maintained and in good shape is,
Yeah, even meters, we're just, a lot of stuff is on back order now.
okay, thank you.
I'll make a,
Sewer capital.
yeah, I'll make a motion to move 4325 sewer capital projects, amount of $46,775.
Okay, we have a motion from Charlie, seconded by Rob, to move the bottom line of sewer capital projects, which is section 05-4325. Jeff, go ahead. Any last minute changes or anything you want to bring to our attention?
No changes.
Okay.
I don't know if you have, I guess if you have any questions on them, I can answer that. Unless you want me to go down through each one, what they are.
Jeff, what's the SCADA tie?
That's how we monitor our stations remotely. It's data supervisor control and data acquisition is actually what it means. And we're planning on tying in some of our other stations, one being the Fallow Well, one being the new Central Street Pump Station, and possibly the Pleasant Street Pump Station.
So this is
That's in both budgets,
Yeah, so I was just looking at that.
portion, yeah.
so it's a capital expense to lay fiber line to get all these different.
Actually,
Locations.
fibers been laid, it's more so the equipment to utilize the pipe and get that information back to us.
Okay.
Hookups.
So I'm not gonna propose a change, but again, your line 906 here in the sewer capital talks about paving for the wastewater treatment facility, I think. So we'd
Yes.
already asked about paving before, if you could just add that to the paving question.
Yeah, the paving of the wastewater treatment plant is just the whole pavement of the plant itself, all the access roads in front of the garage, parking areas. That's separate from the paving line that's part of my operational budget. The paving in the operational budget is if I have to dig up water main or sewer main.
Oh, so somewhere in town,
Right.
Yeah.
off-site.
So we're just
Oh,
doing-
I did not see that before.
I didn't understand that either, so that helps us understand, thank you.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, that's a new line this year.
Okay. Questions from other committee members, comments? Okay, we'll move the bottom line then. We're gonna vote on the bottom line for sewer capital projects, section 05-4325, in the amount of $46,775, which is unamended. All in favor?
Aye.
6, we have 6, so we are passed. So now the third section
I'll
of
make
sewer.
a motion to move 4711, 4721, sewer debt service, an amount of $55,104.
Okay, hold on. So I will second that. So we have a motion from Charlie, seconded by Paul, for sewer debt service, which is combined principal and interest, sections
Yep.
4711 and 4721.
That's correct.
I think that this is basically the same situation as before. This is incurred debt. We don't really have a choice other than to pay off our legal debts, and there is no real opportunity here to make any amendments or cuts. So unless someone objects, we will move the bottom line.
What number did you say?
So we're,
55,104. So he noted it. So there's 4711 and 4721.
we're on page 24, right above total
24.
sewer.
Yeah.
Do you see that, Carol?
This is one thing more
It's
awkward.
under the sewer budget,
Yes, sewer.
Good.
Okay.
And
Thank
there's lines related to principal payment and interest payments here. So that's why you'll see Central Square written twice. One is principal, one is interest, and why dewatering is listed twice. One for principal, one for interest.
No, good, I was in the wrong spot, thank you.
Right, so in the past, we had a separate, in general government, we had a separate section for interest, for principal and interest. Here they're combined, but that's fine, the
Yeah.
numbers are the numbers.
Yeah.
And since we're not interested in Bristol Sewer Department defaulting on bonds, we
Right.
will approve this number. So I'm gonna move the bottom line for the sewer debt service, which is combined of two sections, 05-4711, 05-4721, in the amount of $55,104. All in favor?
Aye.
We have 6 yeses, so we are done. So now we have,
I'll make a motion to move 4324, sewer surplus transfer, an amount of $1.
someone want to second that? So I have a motion from Charlie, seconded by Rob, to move the bottom line of sewer surplus transfer, section 05-4324, in the amount of $1.
This is our accounting line.
This is an accounting line, so at the end of the year, Jeff will figure out what it really is and he and
Bob.
Bob and whoever will do whatever needs to be done. I don't think there's much discussion about this, so if nobody has a comment or a question, we will go ahead and vote. So we're gonna vote on the bottom line of sewer surplus transfer, which is section 05-4324, in the amount of $1. All in favor? Aye. And I think I got all 6 yeses, so I'll say that is approved, 600. So I'm trying to move between computers and paper and whatever, but I believe we're done with sewer and
Yep.
now we're gonna move on to water. Is that?
I'll make a motion to move 4331, water operations, at an amount of $452,541. And that's on page 25, the last line, water operations, page 25. We'll work in the same order that we work.
I agree. So we have a motion to move the bottom line on water operations. Can I get a second?
Second.
So I have a motion from Charlie, seconded by Rob, to move the bottom line of water operations, section 07-4331, in the amount of $452,541. Jeff, any changes since this was printed, or any lines you want to bring to our attention?
No changes.
Okay,
I think a couple of, just trying to see the ones that increased or decreased by much. The office manager decreased a little bit just because it's a new hire. That's line 117, sorry.
right, okay.
Line 142, the on-call compensation. I had under budgeted that this year, just brought that up so it matched. It's a 50-50 split between sewer and water on this. So I just brought that up, and that shows an increase of 67%.
So Jeff, it's not a problem for us, but I will just bring to your attention that on line 142, on the reports that we're given, your actual spend to date on that line shows 0 on our reports. So you might want to get together,
I wonder if compensation comes out of end of year checks or something like that.
but it's on
Yeah,
call.
I'll go follow up on that, because
Yeah, I think that's just an operational thing you'll want to follow up on. That's the reason I brought it up. I'm not asking you to answer a question. I'm pointing out that
There's nothing.
you
out of
might
sewer.
have a problem with where numbers aren't being booked correctly.
Yeah, there's nothing out of sewer either, but Jeff,
all right,
so those both have to be followed up on.
thanks for pointing that out.
No problem. We're not here just to grill, only just to grill you. We're trying to be helpful. Okay, I didn't mean to cut you off. Any other lines?
Safety boots, same as sewer, we
Yeah.
increased to 125 and added a pair of boots for the new hire. Just wanted to point out, telemeter went down 100%, but that's because we're working on a credit. They had overcharged us for years, and then they actually gave us the credit on those years worth of contract.
Is that gonna continue for a couple of years, or this is a
I
one
think
year
it
thing?
will, because it was almost $5,000, and I had probably been happening a little bit more than a year now.
Okay.
Just working on that credit. Internet increased, line 344, just based on what was spent. Line 410, electricity, the increase in rates. Line 430, maintenance and repairs, just increase in materials. Line 635, fuel prices.
Mhm.
I think that's the highlights of the operations for a while.
So, I guess 2 comments. I don't know that you're gonna, so again, line 361 is paving for water. Again, we're not showing any expense in the last 2 years, and you're asking for money, so if you'd add that to the paving question. And then
Yeah.
again, now just for your information, your line 395, control valve service. On our reports, it's showing you have 0 actual spent to date, which from what you're saying is not correct, so you're gonna wanna look into that again.
The control valve service, that will probably catch up, I just signed that bill.
Okay. How about my other committee members, you guys, comments, questions? Want me to keep moving, huh? Okay, we will move the bottom line, we'll vote on the bottom line of water operations, which is section 07-4331, in the amount of $452,541. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Okay, that is 6 yeses, so we don't need to do the noes and the abstains. So we are done with water operations, and now we will do,
Make a motion to move 4332. $36,735.
I'll second that.
okay. I am having.
Water capital projects on page.
I know, it's just split over 2 and I'm
Yeah.
having trouble. So I have a motion from Rob, seconded by Charlie, to move the bottom line of water capital projects which is section 07-4332 in the amount of $36,775. Jeff, anything you wanna, any changes?
No changes, no.
Okay.
I think, again, that's half the paving down the treatment plant, the 906. The next three have been done this past year, skated tie-in, we're gonna carry that over to next year to finish that up. Same with the epoxy coating the floors. And then, the new roof at the lab and office down the treatment plant.
So I mean, this all seems reasonable to me. The one question that occurs to me is that for the 910, line 910, the fiber supervisory tie-in, and 911, the epoxy coating on floors. So this year, you have money approved in the budget. The report's saying you didn't spend any, and you're asking for the same amount of money last year. So my question is, are these numbers that are basically annual expenses that you're gonna ask for every year? Or is this a situation where you asked for it for this year, you just didn't get it done, so you're asking for it again next year, but it really is a one-off?
Right, I think, my practice has been with the enterprise fund, is not to encumber funds, but reallocate them the following year, just carry them over to the next year.
Gotcha, so you asked for the supervisory tie-in, and you asked for the epoxy coating, and it didn't get done, so you're just asking them again, but assuming they get done, you won't be asking for them yet again next year.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. That's it for me, anyone else? Okay, let's go ahead and vote on we're gonna vote on the bottom line for water capital projects, which is section 07-4332 in the amount of $36,775. All in favor?
Aye.
6 ayes, so that passes. Charlie, you wanna
I'll make a
that?
motion to move 4711, 4721, water debt services, an amount of $61,967.
Second.
So I have a motion from Charlie, seconded by Carol, to move the bottom line of water debt service, which is combined sections 07-4711 and 07-4721, in the amount of $61,967. I don't think there's any discussion, so we'll go ahead.
We must be close to this water system one being done, right? With kind of a relatively low interest payment. Must not have too many years left on it.
That makes sense to me, but
Yeah.
we'll
I'm
hopefully
just saying.
see it next year, because it
Yeah.
doesn't, we still have to approve the money for this year,
Yeah.
I mean, for 23. So I'm gonna call a vote to approve the bottom line of the water debt service, combined sections 07-4711 and 07-4721 in the amount of $61,967. All in favor? We have 6 yeses, so that passes. And then we go back to.
I'll make a motion to move 4324, water surplus transfer.
It's actually got a number in it.
It's actually got a number in it. Should this have a number in it?
Yeah,
So we need to move it, so.
I'll make a
so we
motion,
need
we're
to
at
move it.
$35,000.
Right, and can I get a second?
It's gonna get just to
And then look, what's that?
second.
Okay, so I have a motion from Charlie, a second from Rob, to move the bottom line of water surplus transfer, which is section 07-4324, in the amount of $35,000. So, Jeff, is that what you want?
That one does fluctuate, so I kind of left it alone. Usually I put a dollar in it, but I think Bob just carried over the 35. I didn't pay much attention to that because I do adjust that when I get a better handle on my revenues.
Well, I was gonna say the same thing, the actual number will be whatever you end up with at the end of the year, so I think we would be accommodating, we'll give you whatever number Christina and you want, so do you want us to approve the 35?
You can.
Okay. Any other comments? No, so we will vote on approving the bottom line for water surplus transfer, section 07-4324, in the amount of $35,000. All in favor?
Right.
And we have 6 yeses, so we are approved. All right, I don't know what's next.
We're done with water.
That's it?
Thank you, Jeff.
Oh, thank you guys.
Is there anything else you need from us?
Nothing that I can think of.
All righty, if that changes, let us know. Otherwise, have a great night and
Merry Christmas.
see you next year.
Yeah, sounds good. See you guys.
All right, have a good night. So, I do believe we are done with new business. So let's move to the next item on our agenda, which is
CIP.
old business. And the first item there is CIP, and we'll get Mr. Milbrand up and out of here.
Finally made it here, sorry about all of this.
We appreciate
miscues.
you. We appreciate you. Yes.
Well, I think we finally have the right documents.
Okay, that helps. That always helps.
Yeah, we didn't have the right.
Oh, really?
Thanks,
We
Charlie.
noticed like 15 minutes in.
Thanks, Charlie.
Wait, what's yours say on the top left for a date? This date up here?
Yeah, does it say, because at one point we had one that was a year old. And now,
10/26/21. is what I-
Yeah, so don't use that
no,
one.
so that's
Yeah,
the
don't
wrong
use that
one.
one.
We need a different one.
That's the one I gave, that Janet just had a copy made of.
October 5th, 22.
So
Yep.
Janet and I have the wrong one.
And I left my 11.
So all of the
17 at-
correct ones I know are on the computers, and I believe I
Those
gave
are
you
right,
the
right.
correct ones maybe
Last week,
So,
we can,
yeah, I was gonna say, who needs copies, raise your hands.
do you want to borrow Dawn's?
So we have the wrong one.
Yeah, sorry, that's my
That's
fault.
okay, that's okay. So this is
I
the
have-
wrong one, right?
Yeah, the date is on
If
the
it
top.
says, yes.
Okay.
I just
So
wanted to
does
get it off.
anybody need a,
Good idea.
I have a little piece of paper, but
I
I
have
don't
a
work,
mini-
because
I
I'm
have a
pretty sure,
mini.
I'm pretty sure I have it in the 11 by 17
okay,
at
so does
home.
anybody want a big copy?
What's your date on that one?
Doug, right?
Yeah, okay, and,
October
Carol-
5th, 22. This is
Okay,
the
fair
right
enough.
Would you bring a magnifying glass back, please?
She'll make 6 of them. The larger ones. So meanwhile, on that, the capital improvements program is a subcommittee, the CIP committee is a subcommittee of the planning board, regulated by RSA. And it's an advisory committee. There's nothing cast in stone on this. The purpose of it is to plan out the capital needs and expenditures of the town so that you don't have radical up and down swings of your tax rate for it. The current one, I'd have to look back. The CIP committee in Bristol has been going for probably at least a dozen years now. It took a little bit to get started, and there was a lot of things we had to do because Bristol's spending on capital was up and down and all over the place. They'd buy 2 cruisers one year and then none for the next couple of years, and then, buy a fire truck and then buy two highway trucks. It was all over the place. So the Bristol CIP committee has done a number of different things over the years, mixing in lease purchases to try and stretch things out, moving forward. And what we've ultimately done, you'll see when you get your sheet, is started up capital reserves so that we've gone through, and I can supply you if you want to see the details of the amortization. We've gone through for each department, highway and fire in particular are the 2 large ones, and actually made an amortization out 40 years so that we're putting enough money in the capital reserves every year so that when vehicles come due to be replaced on their regular schedule, the money will be there. You can see on the amortization that it'll get to a point where, it might go down to $5,000, but then there'll be, building up over the next several years.
Never goes to a zero.
You're right.
Below zero.
Right. It's very similar to when you hold a mortgage and your mortgage company amortizes your taxes, your insurance, and that kind of thing. They rebalance it every year.
So you feel like the CIP has met its promise to
Yeah,
the people of Bristol, is that what you're saying?
Met our goal, more so than a promise. We'll start at the bottom line first to answer your question. It's probably on the second page of it. Basically, line 104, there's column lines down the side. So if you go to line 104, it's the portion of projected capital for your tax rate. And as you'll see, it's gone up, but it fluctuates a little bit, but it's about $2 per thousand stretching out. Now, the thing there is that those numbers are all based on the current valuation. The town valuation obviously fluctuates, so that would change as those numbers. And this is a living document, so every year the committee gets together and changes things. Sometimes a vehicle isn't needed or not, or prices go up, as we all know, and we'll adjust prices and things and recalculate the amortization. And the goal is to keep that line 104 at an even number, or as even as you can.
But, to keep it even, it's more important that we're just spacing out the projects. Because if one item is going up and an ambulance is going up, probably the dump truck is going up too.
Right.
So the amount that the tax rate is going up here is gonna increase, but you're saying one project's happening here while the other project is happening here. That's
Right.
the important thing.
Yeah, if you look out through the sheet in general, you'll see that the amounts for depositing into capital reserves increment every couple of years as you go off. Line 16, the highway, goes a few years at 120, then bumps to 140, then year 2030 bumps up to 160, and that's at the current estimates of what vehicles are going to cost. Obviously, that changes, and even the estimates of the vehicles will go up as you see across the lines. For instance, line 20 is the truck that you're talking about with Mark. His truck, as a matter of fact. It's estimated it'll cost about $130,000 this year. There's a 15-year life or an 8-year life on that truck. So if you look out 8 years, we're adding another $20,000 to it. That's obviously a guess. Who knows what that truck will cost that many years. But as we get closer, we'll be able to adjust that number as well. Just for reference, we do try to put the amount that's in the current amount that's in the capital reserve, at least as when this was printed. So that you'll see the numerous reserve funds, the police detail fund, the police vehicle capital reserve fund. Now that was high because that was the balance as of October 5th, but we were late on buying the vehicle, so there's the vehicle that was bought this year, there's still money to have to come out of that. I'm pretty sure that fund is lower than that. Highway capital reserve, and then there's two different fire equipment reserves. One is for fire equipment. That's
Lining one?
That's, yeah, line 40
Okay.
is the fire equipment capital reserve. And then because of the ambulance contract that we do with the other towns, a few years ago, we set up the ambulance revolving fund. So the purchases of the ambulance come out of that fund. And I forget what the amount that goes into that every year, but the amount that goes into that comes out of revenues from the ambulance contract. And that's why we split it off rather than having it wrapped in with the regular fire equipment. And this year's, we always do the previous 2 years. What I'll do is after town meeting, I'll update 2022 to reflect what was actually spent. So the years 2021 and 2022, those are the actual results of town meeting. Those aren't what the plan said. 2023 is what the capital improvement program committee is recommending to be spent. Town meeting decides whether those numbers are correct or not.
Has the select board discussed how much we plan on putting towards capital reserves this year?
I can
Have they
change.
discussed that yet?
I can change hats since I happen to be on the select
Yeah.
board. Unless you want Carol to answer.
Either you can answer, yeah.
No, you're the capital expert, go ahead.
Yeah.
I just wanna know if the select board is planning to meet obligations to this report or not.
Mostly yes. We started discussing warrant articles.
Yeah.
One of the warrant articles is how much to put into capital reserves, and I believe that reflects what these numbers are, with the exception of line 56, which the CIP committee has $10,000 in there, but with some of the moving of the police department to this building and then back to the current building, there'll be additional funds needed. So you will see $50,000 like it was last year to be put into that fund. That's a change that the select board has made versus what was recommended.
Don, how much input, so I'm not super, I understand CIP, but I'm not familiar with the CIP committee.
Yeah.
Never been to a meeting. How many members are on
I'm trying to think.
Added
Well, you
What's
had,
that?
two. You just added two. so-
Yeah.
so there were five, right?
There's,
So now you're
there's
seven.
about 5, yeah. There's no set number in stone.
How, in that they're not putting, there's no department heads that are on that committee?
No,
No.
no.
How much input do you get from department heads towards these numbers, and how much consideration is given to that input?
These numbers come from them,
Okay.
basically. That was a little bit of a battle in getting the CIP committee up and running. The very first, a lot of the members on the committee at the very first thought it was more like the budget committee, where you could argue and ask questions and what can you do to change what you're doing to make it cheaper, things like that. And some of that is okay, but basically the job of the CIP committee is to take what the department heads say we need this, this, and this. And our job isn't to argue how much you should spend on that. Our job is to figure out how we can spend that and even out the spending on it.
I just,
So the numbers come from them, and we no longer argue as to what the number is. We just try and space it out so that
this has been a massive sticking point for me for years, going back 20 years with the fire department stuff. And you've got three different vehicles that are the most major purchases that this town makes. And those vehicles are all projected at 25-year lifespans.
right.
Some of them will make it 25, some of them can make it longer than 25.
Right.
And then I look at the replacement cost figures, and just being intimately familiar with those are extremely conservative projections.
Okay.
Yeah, I think just saying my piece.
I can answer
yeah,
part of that too.
And what's that?
I can answer part of that too, because
Go right ahead.
so like, the fire chief did talk about this with CIP and did recognize that those numbers are probably very conservative. He said that in the next few years, obviously this report is gonna change because they're gonna have to look at new options, whether they extend the life of the vehicles, and do a major repair on a certain vehicles, or to try to extend the life longer. It has to keep, this is this year's, but in the next few years, this is going to change quite a bit.
I, you know, for a town of this size, you can get 30 years out of a ladder truck.
Mhm.
You know?
Okay.
But the frontline engine that runs twice as much as those other vehicles.
Right.
I just,
Might be 20 years.
and this
25.
isn't a criticism of him,
Oh,
this
no.
is a criticism of when this first went into place long before you or I were involved in this process. And I thought it stunk back then, and I think it stinks now. And I think that chunk is kind of short-sighted, and that's
Okay.
not a criticism on your part, I just feel like the right information's not being passed along on that.
Okay, and I'll take that, advice to heart, and next year we'll look at those numbers and take a harder look and probably increase them appropriately then.
Yeah, and
That's fine.
and another thing I can point out is the usage and demand on the ambulances that has increased over the past couple of years, 4 or 5 years, in comparison to what it used to be. That it used to be a 10-year replacement on those,
Right.
and that should be, it went up to 12 because of the short-sightedness of another fire chief who's long gone, but I mean, that should be going in the other direction, not,
Yeah,
So
and-
I guess my concern is, and I'm pretty familiar with highway and police, are we being too conservative on some of this stuff,
Yeah,
We already know that ambulance number is 335 or 340.
Right,
well, that's the other thing, ambulance prices are going up too.
yeah.
So I realize
I
that.
tell you, after driving that 2019, the other day, that it has 98,000 miles on it, and we're 2 years in.
Yeah,
So, or, maybe 3,
Jeez.
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. Probably,
So we're not, 12 is this.
12 is.
Out the window. It's not gonna happen, okay.
yeah, and that's something with actually both hats on at the same time, that probably not this year, but next year, we should look at changing the amount that we put into the ambulance revolving fund as well. That needs to bump up.
Yeah, at some point, we gotta be especially when those revenues are increasing, that's.
Right.
Along with the budget, that's,
Mhm.
at some point, somebody's gotta be the bad guy here and say, hey,
Yeah.
this isn't gonna cut it long term.
Right. Yeah. So the nice thing about using the capital reserve, moving to a capital reserve versus always buying something on a lease, besides the fact that you're not paying the interest on it,
Right.
is that, like you said, sometimes vehicles will last 20 years, sometimes they'll last 30 years. And with the money in the capital reserve fund, you have that flexibility of stretching it out. In fact, Mark's truck, I think, was actually probably due last year, not this year.
He extended it.
But he was able to extend the life of the truck a year, which, works out really nice, using the capital reserve for that reason.
Plus he hasn't had any accidents.
Yeah, knock on wood.
Yeah, sorry.
Mhm. So the numbers are what they are.
So thank you, I guess I would.
And the committees get to decide what they want to do with it and recommend or not recommend.
I was gonna say, so at this point, we don't need to vote at all, this is not something that we approve, this is not something we can change.
No.
This is shared with us for advisement, it doesn't really affect the budget we're working on, but it's good information to have because we will be asked to vote on our recommendation on warrant articles, so the funding of all these capital things will be done through warrant articles, and we will be asked our opinion of it, so
Yep.
thank you for sharing this information.
My pleasure. And thanks for your input back to help keep this document up to date as well. All right.
Okay.
All right. Have a Merry Christmas, everyone.
Thank you, you too.
Happy New Year.
And I will be able to make my 8 o'clock meeting with China now.
Taking a quick jet? Oh.
Yeah.
Well, it's the time change, you'll be fine.
All right.
It's 8 in the morning there. It might be 7 with the time change.
We'll see you Thursday.
See you Thursday.
Thank you, Don.
All right, see you guys.
Have a good night. Merry
Okay.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
So, we have a few other sections to go through. Economic development is on here, but we don't think that we have anyone from EDC coming to this meeting, so I'm planning to,
Yeah, and I don't have an email back from him. I did leave him a message, but I'm concerned with holidays and traveling, he may not be available, so.
so we'll handle that at the next meeting, which will be in January. Beaches is on the schedule, and I see that there was a handout put on the table to talk about beaches, so, but I don't see anyone else in the room, so Christina, you're gonna
Nope.
talk
Yeah.
to beaches for us?
Yours or mine?
So before you do that, let me find the section, because we will introduce the bottom
These
line,
are the ones that were
and
here.
here we go, page 18,
Hang on, excuse me, Paul?
Yes.
We're making sure we both got it.
making sure
That's
that
it.
what?
You
Do
got
you,
it.
do you have one more?
You have it, that's the one.
Okay.
Okay, so,
This,
That came, so that's in front of you, came straight from the beach supervisor, which is,
Yes, I have.
Deb.
and I don't think any of us saw it before tonight, but before we start the discussion, allow me to make a motion to introduce the bottom line of the beaches section of the budget, which is section 4521. For those of you following along on paper, it's page 18, in the amount of $29,093. Can I get a second?
Sorry.
So, a motion from Paul, seconded by Rod, to move the bottom line of beaches. We will now discuss. Do you want to give us a second to read the handout, since I didn't do it before the meeting started?
so Christine, did you just say that there's a new supervisor for beaches?
No, Deb Tibby's the same supervisor.
Same
Yeah,
supervisor?
she just, when I asked her for this, explained to her that normally she gets a document from you, and this is what she gave me, because I've never seen what she's given you before.
Oh.
So,
Who is the beach supervisor?
Deb Tibby,
The,
yeah, she's been for, I would say at least 2 years.
do you know, what I'm interested in is the select board's rationale for starting beach coverage on Memorial Day instead of essentially the third week of June. So extending the season by 3 weeks.
So the beaches are always open, technically Memorial Day, and parking passes are required. It's the attendance that there.
Exactly.
usually.
But
Yeah,
I think last year, the decision was made to extend the amount of time we have attendance out there over the year, isn't that correct?
they didn't start until, you mean for this year or last year?
Last year.
Last year, I can't answer that unfortunately, but I can tell you this year, they did not start coverage at the beaches until after school, for the majority.
I just can't support starting that early, it just seems ridiculous. I go to the beaches all the time, and they are not busy, until like at least the third week of June.
So
Like,
it's
I am not worried about
it's-
getting a parking spot or whatnot, or what's happening those first 3 weeks of June. It's just like a non-issue. You go to these beaches and you're like, on a Saturday, and there's like 5 or 6 people
Really?
often, yeah. There is not many people in early June.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
I mean, Memorial Day weekend might be busy if the weather happens to be
Yeah.
halfway decent.
Yeah.
Which is,
But it is, our tourism season has not begun at all at this point.
So the ordinance is Memorial Day to Labor Day. They do not cover the beaches starting Memorial Day. It's the ordinance that covers it.
Yeah, but this document says to continue coverage and ordinances of the beach from Memorial Day.
Yeah, we didn't have somebody out there at Memorial Day this year, though.
So
I can clarify that with Deb for you, but we did not have anybody out there this year. We didn't cover, they had an attendant selling, here, they had permits, June 1st to July 31st normally, and then they didn't actually start staffing until it would have been June.
I guess I wanna hold off to see when we're actually planning on to start coverage this year.
I can text her too right now and just find out. And the other reason you're gonna see an increase in that line is that we've actually booked Deb Tibby's hours to that line and corrected them. There've been some mistakes in where she's been booked. So, because she also works for the town in the executive office part of the time. And so we cleaned it up and we made sure that her hours that she's working the beach are booked in the beach, and the other hours that she's working for the town is booked in the executive budget.
So residents can buy a beach pass for $5, correct?
Correct.
It's 10 now.
That's 10, I believe now on the book.
And we're not doing day passes?
No, people that are renting in town, I think can buy a week pass for $50. I think that's what it currently is.
Yep, so it says,
Yeah, the day pass thing ended a while ago.
Dave,
annual passes are $10 and guest passes are $50 per week. And then new this year, trusts and their heirs can get a pass $10 per plate for each heir. So those are property owners in a trust, so.
okay, yeah.
Something that happened before I came, I had a little heartburn over it. That they didn't sell day passes.
That's the thing, you could sell day passes for $15 or $20 on busy weekends, and that pays for the staff that's there.
Something we could talk about.
I mean, you've got, 15,000 in revenue coming in, so it's costing us $10,000 essentially.
What I have an issue with, Rob, is that we used to be far more balanced with the money that was coming into the beaches than what we were paying. Last couple of years have come extremely out of balance.
Yeah. And
We are now spending far more on our beaches than we're gaining in revenue. It used to essentially offset itself, but now it is nowhere near that offset. So I think this needs to be looked at. Either we need to think of some way of increasing fees, and I think some type of $15 day pass maybe is the way to go. Or think about how much coverage we have over the entire season.
So-
Christina may have better memory, because as I said, I came in the tail end of this, was already done when I stepped in. But I think there was some conversation about making sure that the residents had use of the beach before the non-residents filled it up. Does that sound right, Christina?
Well,
To some degree.
Here's the other thing I get a kick out of is I have 4 vehicles,
And
and I was told I can only have 2 passes.
Yeah.
So you just turned down $20 worth of revenue.
Yeah.
And told me that I can't take my vehicles as a taxpayer that I own at the beach.
And
That's
right now, as
interesting
of the end of October, which would have been the end, we took in $15,755 in revenue, so.
So, I'm thinking there's a bunch of things here that are confusing. So I know we talked about this last year, and I remember being told that we were selling annual passes to residents and week passes to visitors and no day passes.
Correct.
But if you read the section that's headed Cummings Beach, it says, starting on the second line, one attendant will be positioned at the entrance to the Cummings Beach, checking and selling permits and day passes to allow entrance to the beach parking area. But I thought the select board said there are no day
That does-
passes.
That has to be a carryover from a previous document, because that's not what's happening. Right?
Yeah, that's not what's
That
happening.
has to, I'm guessing that's a,
I also have to show
Who's
why,
blocking off the upper parking area of Cummings Beach?
that's what it says.
What parking area is that?
That's in July, yeah, but I'm thinking, Also, we're cleaning the beach opening, so that's the upper parking lot on Cummings Beach.
So further down the road?
Just, yeah, just up the road a little bit.
It's never closed though.
That's
So,
across from the catch, correct? That's why they
No.
put the cones.
no, Cummings Beach is up across from Bungalow Village.
Yeah.
Avery Kraus is
Oh.
across by the big catch.
So you're gonna tell the people that wanna be at the far end of the beach that they have to park in the other area of the beach because that's closed off.
That's never closed.
No.
That's never closed. It's never
So,
physically.
So this
But
actually,
proposed.
she hasn't responded, and she did say the plan is Memorial Day. So I think that needs to be a discussion at the select board level.
I think we had that discussion.
I think to Charlie's point, it says that the beaches are cut from Memorial Day through Labor Day, and then she talks about beaches being busy in July and whatever. I thought there was some issue last year where she struggled to continue to provide coverage through August because a lot of her seasonal employees left to go back to school or something. I agree with Charlie, I don't think it's a good spend to fully staff that job in the first 2 or 3 weeks of June. There's not, while school's in session,
I'd say
there's
the
not a lot going on
the
there.
last 2 weeks of
And
June you
then,
want
and
to do
then,
it.
and then showing my complete frugality. I don't understand, I would assume that a lot of these people being hired for 23, that there's a fair amount of carryover from 22. So I don't understand why, if she has 7 attendants, she needs to buy 7 sweatshirts, 7 t-shirts, and 7 chairs. A bunch of these people already have shirts from last year, and all 7 of them don't work at the same time, so we giving every worker their own chair? Or do we just need 4 chairs for the 4 people that are working at any one time? I mean, it's picking an amount of money, and I gotta stop myself, because I don't wanna micromanage Deb and the select board and whatever, but this is not a good proposal.
I
So
wanted,
at this point, the only thing that I can tell you to do is if you can motion it to cut it, if that's what you're gonna do, but I can't answer all of your questions. Deb's answered some of them, and the select board has approved her proposal, so.
So, the, last year's budget was overspent by $4,000. And that's because of.
I think they started coverage Memorial Day.
They did,
Last year.
I apologize, so I
Yeah,
just got that answer. It says we were able to staff the beaches for Memorial Day so it was weekends last summer.
Right.
For Memorial Day through June, I think is weekends, is what she's saying.
Yeah.
And then June after is full coverage.
We did have that conversation.
Yep.
It's slowly coming back.
So I didn't hear that, I didn't know that part myself, so, but she did say that, yes. And they are also ticketing too.
Yeah, she did mention that in here, that last year they had deputies and they issued tickets, and they're planning on hoping to do that again this year. About 34 tickets were written for violators as of August 22nd of this year, 22.
So I guess I wanna know, so we overspent last year 24,000. Was that overspent due to the select board deciding there to be a longer season than was initially proposed? Is it due to having to essentially pay our employees more to be competitive and get people to be hired?
Okay.
I think I have a lot of questions here.
I understand what you're saying, and I'm struggling to close this, and so I'm gonna make a proposal, I'm gonna make a motion. The people that we would ask to answer these questions are not here.
So,
And the people
You're
who
not gonna be
control
able to get her
the
in.
policy on when is it staffed and what's going on is a select board. So we don't get to make that decision.
And
But I would be happy to go back to what Charlie said. I'm gonna make a motion to amend the number to whatever the revenue is. I want the beaches to run at a break even. So I wanna look up the revenue report, and whatever the revenue is, that's what I wanna set the expense number at. And then if the select board and Deb wanna come back and ask us to reconsider, I'm certainly willing to do that. But with the amount of information I have right now, I don't know what else to do.
so you're saying the whole bottom line, because you also have water testing, your beach improvements for your swim lines. So you're saying the $15,000 in revenue should pay for your staff?
Yeah, so I'm gonna make up numbers for the different lines so it totals up to the number I want, because I don't have enough information to make smart, informed decisions.
well, why don't you just put it
I'm
off.
Go ahead,
gonna
Walter.
back off. What I was thinking, I'm gonna wait and listen for a while.
Yeah, me too.
I was thinking something, but I'm not gonna let it out.
Okay.
I'm gonna wait before I jump in.
Well, I'm interested to see if other people, I know at this point that I will not vote in favor of a $29,093 number. So the two options to me are either table it and wait to talk about it again at the next meeting when other people could come and answer our questions, or cut it and then
Who
have
do you
people,
want to come talk about it?
I don't know if Deb should come,
Yeah.
I want a level fund from last year.
I don't have
Until,
the revenue report in front of me.
I want to what we
Don't we
did
have
we
a
did in
revenue?
2022.
I have it right here.
Yeah.
I want to go to what we did in 2022.
Oh, you don't want to worry about revenues, you just want to give them the same
So
number as last
revenues
year.
were $15,755.
The big problem is what I have is the increase this year. What I feel like happened last year, which I'm not too happy about, is I thought the plan that was presented to us was essentially our near end of June coverage to Labor Day coverage. And then it seemed like after the fact, after the budget process went through, the select board made the decision to do something different, and that's why we're now overspent. I want us to go back to original decisions, back to the way the beaches have run for the last few years now. I kind of want to cut back to that
So you want to cut,
25,580.
you want to cut back to last year's number, which is
Yes.
25,585. You don't want to go all the way to the 15,755, which is what the revenue is for the beaches.
Right.
So you'd still operate the beaches at a net cost of $10,000.
Yes.
But Charlie, you're just grabbing a number out of the air.
Yeah, but we have nowhere near enough information to do really anything else.
That's right.
There are
that's
so
what I'm
many
trying to
question
say.
marks
Right,
here.
yeah.
Well, and you're just level funding it though. I mean, you're level funding it from 2022 for what 2022's budget is.
Paul, can I speak for? Sorry, Karen.
Yes, I'd be happy for you to speak. I want everyone to have a chance to speak.
Why don't you just postpone it, which is what you've been doing with other things you have questions on?
So I can't have Deb come.
She's not available to come to these meetings.
No.
The timing is not
Well,
working.
but she could maybe come on Zoom so she's available to answer questions, that's a no?
No.
Can you determine the questions and?
I can probably get better answers from her. Yes. Not before January though.
Okay.
Oh.
Let me get Rob's comment because we've been talking and he hasn't had a chance yet.
I'm getting on my soapbox.
Go ahead.
Ben, have you been
Oh, let
to,
me go get it, my husband.
Your husband's using it.
have any of you been to Wellington State Park on a weekend?
Yep.
Yes.
The past few years?
No, I was on a
Have you
weekday.
been there when everyone leaves?
Yes.
You know
That's
what
when I
I
go
see?
actually.
I know.
The pile of trash overflowing the dumpster.
Yeah.
So my concern is, if we need to spend an extra $10,000 to keep our beaches from having that trash from the overflow that's gonna come from Wellington State Park off of our town beaches, here you go, here's your money.
Yes, that's
So-
it.
Well, and
For
can
what
I
we
just
pay
add?
in taxes in this town, we need those two damn beaches, and they're well-run, and the small cost compared to
Yeah, we're talking
what I
about,
pay for taxes in this town, the small cost to operate the beach is nothing to complain about.
Okay. Carol, do you got something or you want Christina to go?
I had something, but it's.
Before it disappears, I want you to speak up.
Go ahead. See
It's
what-
already got away.
I was just gonna add to what Rob said too. They don't just clean the beaches too. They're out there making sure that they have passes. They ticket if they have to. They also, there's the issue with people leaving and blocking spaces and they have to take those chairs off the beach.
oh, that's my favorite thing to do, is throw those chairs in a pile and pick a spot.
So they take quite a beating down there. We've had, in the past year, someone almost get run over. There's been a few other incidents the police have been involved in, but,
The Wellington overflow is my big concern.
yeah.
And when I'm talking about keeping trash off our beaches, I'm not just talking about the physical trash. So in all seriousness, for the small amount that takes up, let's just fund it and get it over with
Yep.
and deal with it. So in the past, Charlie, I've been 100% on board with you, and I have cut this budget. But that is before we had, that, we're talking 4 or 5 years ago, before we had the problem that we do a couple miles west.
So when
Do we have the authority to do that?
To do what?
I just
To
don't,
cut the cost, to make any decision?
Of course we have the authority, you can fund it to $1 for the whole thing if you want to.
I mean, if you level funded it to last year, then the select board would have to make a decision whether to overexpend it or to cut back the hours and level fund it. I mean, if you can make those decisions, I'm not telling you to make those decisions.
Right,
but
and
you
it's the
can
same,
do
and it's the
that.
same thing that Rob said with the library. At some point, someone could stand up at town meeting and make a
Correct.
motion to change it back.
But I mean, the reality is, we just approved $35,000 additional in solid waste for a revenue producing agency, so they can produce more revenue. But now we're gonna take away from a revenue producing agency, but we still want to produce more revenue. So my thing is, let's fund it, and then let's go to the select board and encourage the select board, which we have somebody here that's in favor of day passes and increasing revenue at that level. So we can get that, so let's, instead of cutting the budget, let's bring the revenue up.
Well,
I agree, but
sorry.
I'm,
I'm so sorry. I just wanted to point out, revenue, you figure, they only budgeted $8,000 in revenue. They took in $15,700, and that is just your residents and taxpayers.
That's not
And
included fines.
Your $50 for the,
week visitors.
yes, that that's just beach permits.
Right.
$15,755, that's not day passes. So
But there are none.
there are no day passes, and the plan is still no day passes from the last presentation.
So,
And I think-
I don't, Rob, I agree with you. The thing that I'm struggling with is that I can't make a motion and vote on doing anything to increase revenues, because that's not within the authority of the budget committee. I can ask Carol to go back to the select board and
It's right
say
there.
either consider day passes or consider raising the permit fees.
Yeah.
If you charge every resident 15 instead of 10, you probably cover Deb's proposed budget. Or if you take Rob's attitude that 10,000 is not a bad investment in beautiful beaches because people buy real estate in Bristol because they have nice beaches, and so we might have less houses, and I don't know.
I'm gonna make it my mission in life this year to increase the revenue and also to get my other 2 beach stickers that I should be able to have as a taxpayer.
But you can also,
Because you can only drive one truck at a time.
Yeah!
Right, but I can't move the beach sticker.
Right, exactly.
but that same token is, if you're worried about an overflow of people from Wellington, I would say right now that should be a minimal problem, because if you're at Wellington and it's busy and you decide you want to go to Bristol, you can't buy a day pass, so you can't legally come to a Bristol
You
town
could
beach.
walk in.
You can walk in.
can't-
You have to find a
can't
place to
park.
park your car.
Right, but that's
So
what I'm saying, we
Cummings
we need to be able to enforce that.
So when we first moved to Upper Birch and away from the association, we were going to Cummings all the time for 7 years. There was a number of instances each summer on the hot weekends, the big weekends, when all of a sudden you're like, where are all these people coming from? And then you
parking on
find
the
out
road,
they're coming from Wellington, they're getting turned away at Wellington.
Right.
Now then, day passes were being sold then. So all of a sudden, and it got really crowded. So that definitely does happen. There's no doubt it happens a few times a summer on those really busy weekends when it's really hot.
Yeah.
And Wellington gets full.
But that's, you know,
But that was
when
when
I
they
say
were
day
day
passes,
passes.
I'm not talking about $5 day passes, I'm talking like $25 day passes.
Yeah, right. See if you can go down to Rye Beach.
That
or Hampton Beach
$5
a day
should go up.
per day. And
Yeah. What's that?
That $5 fee should go up.
Well,
That's
especially for day
ridiculous.
passes, if you're
Oh, I'm
charging,
saying, make it a $25 fee, if you don't like it, don't come.
well, if
Well,
you're
and-
charging your residents $10 for an annual pass, then your day passes should definitely be more.
well, and
Yeah.
that's, so I think from trying to pull this out of my memory bank, the select board we were in agreement with Deb to staff them from Memorial Day on.
You were, yes.
Yes, and I think part of that is to make sure that there was fairness. That and only people that were supposed to be there were there. And I get it, the parking lot's not full, like, I totally get what you're saying. So I'll go back and say, it should be raised revenue, go back to day passes, and I wrote it here somewhere. Thought it was.
All is
$8.
gonna
Or
be
at
a
least-
hard time
At least
tonight.
at Cummings Beach, which is generally less people.
Yeah,
At least if someone comes to Avery Beach, we can say, we sell day passes at Cummings Beach.
and some of the regulars.
Have a day pass
Some of
area.
the regulars there would probably say, wait a minute, they're pretty happy now, I would guess. So there's a very regular
So there's,
crowd.
I think a lot of things that can be done.
On that north end of Cummings Beach is a very regular crowd of people that they come from, the campground out on River Road. There's a whole bunch of people that come there, that's, because that's where they go. So, we'll talk about it. However, maybe we should put it off and have Christina get some more information. I can get back from the select board and make sure that I'm 100% on where we're at with that.
Well, that's where I was trying to go now, is do we want to, does somebody want to make a motion to table? Does somebody want to make a motion to amend? What are we gonna do to,
I know
At
we've
least wrap
spent
it up
30 minutes
tonight.
talking about it, let's just vote on it and get it over with.
I'm gonna vote against it if we vote.
so,
I wanna table
so
it.
I'm not hearing a motion either to amend the number or to table discussion. So if no one is gonna make a motion, I'm gonna move the bottom line, because that's my job as chair of this committee. So-
Alright, I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to amend 4521-120 to amount of $21,229.
Wait, where'd you get that number? 21 what? Yeah.
$21,229.
Okay. I don't know, I still don't know, quite know where the number came from,
Alright,
but
I'll
that's your
explain
number. That's fine.
If someone
So I will second that, because
Say
I wanna have a discussion about this. So we have a motion on the table, made by Charlie, seconded by Paul, to amend the bottom line, so you're not,
No, I'm amending line 120.
120.
Just
oh, I'm sorry, line 120.
Yeah,
not
because
the
I do have to
bottom line.
amend all line.
Right, so you wanna just do 120?
Yeah.
To the 21 to 29?
Yep.
Okay, so it was 24, 537 was the request, and the proposed new number is 21,229. So, and it's been made and it's seconded, so now we have a discussion, and I will invite Charlie to explain.
Yeah,
this.
so that number essentially is if you go 29,093 minus 25,585, which was 2022 adopted budget. You get to 3,508. If you go 24,537 minus 3,508, you get to that 23,229.
So what you're telling us is that your intention is to get a new bottom line that level funds it,
Yeah,
and you're taking all of the reduction out of line 20 to get there.
yeah, because I still don't feel like we need to be covering those weekends in June.
Making, with the assumption you're cutting back to end of June through the end of August.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Or I want the select board to look at revenues.
Excuse me.
But I can't force them to do that, of course, so.
I'll bring it forward for sure. Yep.
Okay, so I think I already know where some people are thinking, but I'm going to invite, does anyone want to make a comment or discuss the amendment that Charlie just made? Okay, not surprised. I think everyone knows how they want to vote on this. So at this point, we'll vote on the amendment. So we're going to vote on the amendment, which is to amend line 120 to a new amount of $21,229. Is that clear? So if you're voting yes, you're voting to reduce that number. If you're voting no, you're voting to leave it where it is and not change it. Okay? All in favor of the amendment to amend line 120, raise their hand.
Aye.
All opposed? No. Which
No,
way are you
I'm
voting?
with you.
Okay, all opposed? The vote is 3 to 3. That does not carry the motion, I don't believe.
It failed.
It fails, that's what I thought. So, that fails. So, we still have the bottom line.
I'll make a motion to table 4521 beaches.
Do we have a second?
I, in my own heart, I don't have enough information. In my own heart, I don't. We don't know the cost. We don't have anyone that costs, the last
So
cost.
that sounds like a second.
I understand, and I wanted to second it, but I was hoping someone else would, because I thought if I was the one to second it, it would be clearly less than 4 votes and we wouldn't table, so I was waiting to see what other people would say. So, I'll take a vote, I'll second, okay,
I will second.
Carol will second it. So we have a motion to table from Charlie, seconded by Carol. Does anyone want to talk to that
What-
motion?
Yeah, what I'm particularly interested in is actually the comments going back to the select board and seeing what they have to say. And then we can bring this up at the next meeting when we get that feedback back from the select
You're
board.
hopeful there'll be.
I wanna hear from the select board.
You're hopeful that there'll be more information in January that we can make a more informed decision?
Correct.
I
Yeah.
understand, okay.
And for off the record, this is how we got cardboard recycled in town because they didn't use the cost accountant that worked in the highway department, which was me. I was the last one to cost out anything. They used an engineer who didn't use labor. And what did Mark say tonight? We're overspent on labor.
Right, okay.
Nobody costs anything out. I can't justify that. Tabling it. I can't justify level funding it. And I'm done.
Okay,
There.
thank you. Any other comments on the motion to table?
Let me make sure I know what I'm bringing forward. I have changing the coverage back to end of June. If it were me, I'd say the last 2 Saturdays of June, not the last Saturday. So basically from June 8th, Father's Day, or graduations.
Here's the problem I have with that. You have an 85-degree day on Memorial Day weekend, and you're gonna have half of northern Massachusetts at Cummings Beach because it's all gonna overflow from
I
Lions.
agree with you.
And it's the only way to keep it off there is to have that beach covered.
I agree with you.
And
But
I don't want to have employees sitting there doing nothing, but we can't say, hey, oh yeah, oh wait, you gotta come in, Wellington's overflowing.
you're preaching to the choir, but I'm asking you guys, if this passes, based on Charlie saying I want this brought forward to the select board, I want to make sure I know the questions.
Yeah, so
And
that,
we'll be having your address out there, by the way.
that's question number one. And the other question is, would they,
Should we raise revenues, higher revenues for residential passes?
Right.
Why won't we allow people to have multiple passes for multiple vehicles instead of just 2?
Yep.
And do we want to go back to day?
some
pass?
type of day pass?
Back to day pass, up to the 4. That's what I got. So we table it, and I can come back with those.
I'll
And-
sell a 500 years taller season pass.
And I think Christina was also, could clarify a couple of more pieces with that, maybe, about
Well, I think the
exactly
board would have to make a decision first.
10-4, okay. So, those are the 4 things that I have.
Start selling bottled water down there too, you make money off of that. All about making money.
Okay, I'm gonna,
Charge for the porta potty.
I don't,
Charge for the water potties, there you go.
I don't think we're addressing the motion to table at this point, so I'm gonna call a vote.
I know, but I'm having a good time.
So we're voting on the motion to table discussion on the beaches section of the budget.
Yeah.
All in favor? Opposed? The motion passes 5-1. We will revisit this at the next meeting.
So should we attend the select board meeting?
Absolutely not, no.
Not that it matters, but I meant to vote, not that it matters, but I meant to vote against that.
That's okay, I'll change it.
I just,
Okay.
We're friendly here.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
4-2.
4-2, okay. Thank you.
I misspeak enough. Redo some of that. Especially if it doesn't change the outcome.
I'm hungry too, so.
All right,
Select board meeting's open to whoever wants to come, if you want to come.
When's the next meeting?
January 5th, technically. There is one this week, but that's mainly non-public.
Yeah, we got an abbreviated meeting. We
Yeah, I'm not
We won't
in-
be talking about this Thursday.
No,
Oh, you won't be.
January 5th, no, not this.
Okay,
week.
just,
January 5th is the next one, and I can make sure that we put it on the agenda.
But that's still before our next meeting.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so our next meeting's the 10th, right?
yep.
Okay,
Okay,
it is 8:30.
okay.
Do we want,
Rob's hungry.
do we want to handle the non-town departments, the regional associations, the health agencies and such today, now? Or do we want to just let that go till January 10th?
We're already coming back for January 10th.
So I'm, all right,
Yeah.
I'm looking for a sense from the board before we make a motion to introduce any of those sections.
I agree.
You'd rather
I think it's
let them
a
go?
long
All right, we'll let them go to June 10th.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, June? Okay.
January, one of those J months.
He's down at the beach already.
We'll have a meeting on the beach, I like that idea, thank you, Jay.
Only if we each have a pass on our truck.
Yeah.
Yes, okay,
I
so,
think that's gonna be a long conversation.
so we're definitely having a meeting on the 10th, because we're gonna have EDC, we're gonna have beaches, and we're gonna have regional associations and health agencies, and any other subjects that have been resolved, if any member wants to bring up to reopen.
Usually the thing that I recommended in years past is if people do want to reopen a section, to email you about it, so that that department head can be alerted that we're going to reopen that section.
Thank you, I do like that idea, I also like the idea that if you know that you want to bring something up for reconsideration, that I can let the rest of the committee know, and so people don't show up here for the meeting surprised.
And so I can put it all on the
And we can
agenda.
even put it on the
correct
agenda,
order.
correct, okay?
Yeah.
So we should be able to run through the rest of this pretty, I hope, relatively quickly. So the next is our standard stuff, correspondence.
Minutes?
Thank you,
Minutes.
thank
Make a motion
you,
to
thank you.
approve the minutes from last
December 13th, last
December
Tuesday.
13th, last Tuesday's meeting. I was just figuring it out there.
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion from Rob, seconded by Carol, to approve the minutes of the December 13th meeting. Does anyone have any desire for a change or a correction? I looked them over, they look good to me.
Yeah, gee, I wonder.
I'll talk to you after the meeting.
Do you know how much work went into?
Well, it was a long one.
So anyway, voting to approve minutes, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstained?
Abstain.
Okay,
Okay.
so that's 501 to approve the minutes. Now we'll go to correspondence, just to read it into the record as official, is that I did get a correspondence from Sue explaining that she's running a fever. She thinks she has the flu, and she was not gonna be at the meeting tonight. So that was not a surprise. I don't believe I had any other correspondence other than my many emails with our note taker. We had a bit of a kerfluffle, but that was, we worked through.
Nice
we worked through it.
verbiage.
Okay, I know we've had a good number of comments already, but select board, do you have any other comments or? Okay. Any other members have a comment they would like to make? I will comment that, so Sue sent me her note this morning saying that she was feeling ill and wasn't coming, and I didn't think about it right away, but I sent her a note about 4:30 saying, if you're feeling really, laid out, go to bed and be fine. But if you're feeling okay, but you're not coming because you don't want to make us sick, we can fire up Zoom and you can participate. So I want to remind myself, I also want to remind all of you guys, if you can't come, but you are available and want to, we have Zoom available and you can participate remotely.
And to note on that too, just so you know, for Zoom options, a quorum has to be in person in
Correct.
here in order to use Zoom. That goes for many different committees.
Correct.
So just bear that in mind.
You can vote over Zoom. If we have someone
Yeah.
participating by Zoom, I have to call a roll call vote. We all vote one
Yes.
at a time.
Yeah.
But, so your point is if all of us, or 4 of us wanted to participate by Zoom, that wouldn't work, because it would only leave 3 here in the room, and
Right.
that's not. But assuming 1 person is sick,
Yes.
for the most part, we have 6 people. We just have 1 person occasionally can't make it. We've all,
Or forgets.
or forgets. All right. Staff comments.
I just wanted to, there was a couple things that came up from the last meeting. Under 4130, which is the executive budget, we did change the description.
Okay, thank you.
On line 312 to just projects.
Okay.
So we did do that. Under 4140, under 291, there was a concern about the wording for the voting machine, so we changed that to election equipment maintenance. We figured that way nobody would think it was voting for anybody. And
Okay,
so,
thank you.
4550, under line 230.
Hold on. Which section are you in?
4550, which is the library.
Oh, okay. 45, yep, 4550 in the library.
So you had voted for line 230 to be 13,984. In Bob's change, he's made it 13,983, but the bottom line that you voted on is the same. So I just wanted to point that out.
All right, yes, because they had said so many dollars and cents, and we don't normally work in cents, and so it was,
Yeah.
he
Right.
just fixed it to be what he wants.
Yep, and
Good.
then we did change line 411, it just says heating. It doesn't say heating oil anymore. So,
Right, yep, because they heat with propane.
Right.
yes.
Right.
You'd also asked under general government 2 questions. One was to break out technology, and that's not in the budget, but to break out computers and technology. And I talked to the select board, and they don't want to do that currently.
Okay,
I can give you more information about that at your next meeting though, because right now I just have I have a breakout of about 56,000 in software and about 179,000 in NESIC costs. So I'll give you a better update at your next meeting. The security system that Rob asked me to check on, that has become a kerfluffle.
Oh, I got another one.
4194, 435, you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't have an answer for that. I've run into some issues, and so I'm hoping to have an answer by your January 10th meeting on that one. And then the last thing is the solar petition warrant article that most likely will be coming.
yep,
You do not get to vote on.
okay.
I checked with the town's attorney to make sure, and you can provide feedback at town meeting, but you can't vote on the actual warrant article.
We don't have a recommendation
Correct.
printed in the book.
Correct.
Rob was correct.
Do you have any anticipation of any other petition warrant articles?
Not that I'm aware of, but that doesn't mean anything. So, that's the only one that I've been made aware of currently.
So go over that again. So that is just gonna come up as a warrant.
So this,
It'll be-
oh yeah, you weren't here for the last meeting. So the solar, the select board voted against putting it on the warrant.
Yeah.
And so the energy committee chair acting on, as an individual, is going to do a petition warrant article. So, are you laughing at me?
I said, nicely said.
So he is doing a petition warrant article, so he needs 25 registered voters to sign his warrant article. My understanding is that he will be proposing 100% offset, so anybody who puts in solar will get 100% reduction on the value of the solar. So if we assess somebody for $20,000 value and for solar, the proposal, if it passes, would take that $20,000 of value off, and they wouldn't be assessed for it.
However, the $20,000 of value gets added to the entire town's valuation. Therefore, people that don't put solar on their house,
Depending,
the
yes,
bottom line of your budget doesn't change. People that don't put solar on will be carrying that few dollars. They will be paying that for the people that did put solar on. That's the Did that make any sense?
Yeah,
So I'm gonna actually stop because this is, we should all go out and get a beer or a coffee or something and have this conversation, but not in this meeting.
Okay.
But the reason Christine, just because you weren't at the last meeting,
Right.
so there was an article in the newspaper.
Yeah.
And we got into correspondence, I brought that up, and I said, it doesn't spend money, but reduces revenue, so it has
Right,
to do with
that's-
money. So I would hope that we get to vote a recommendation.
Yeah.
And Christina said, I think you're right, and Rob said, Paul, I think you're wrong. So Christina said she would go check with the lawyer to let us know, because I wanted us to have, as a committee, to have an opportunity to vote what is our recommendation for that warrant article by petition.
Yeah.
And what Christina just confirmed is by law, it doesn't spend money, so we don't get to vote on a recommendation. So we can stand up and talk in the meeting as a individual taxpayer. The other dodge, that's not a good word to use, certainly not in a public meeting. The other thing that I brought up is, I think I'm not gonna do it tonight, but I wanna kind of talk to the committee and get a feel. If we feel strongly enough, one of the things we get to do as a committee that gets dumped on me as the chair is I write a letter that goes along with the that gets printed in the
That's right.
warrant.
That's right.
I think I can pretty much say whatever I want. So if I say we didn't get to vote on it, but the committee decided we had a strong opinion and here's what it is,
Yeah.
I think I can include that in the letter.
Yeah. Okay.
But we're not gonna handle that till January.
Yeah.
But that's why it came up tonight. That's why I'm covering.
Well, I did watch the meetings.
Okay.
God bless you. I got
All right.
That was a long one, yeah.
All right.
And
So thank you for all of that.
And you
I
are
didn't
going-
cut you off. Anything else is right.
outside agencies, I don't have a full response yet from department heads, but I should have that for your January meeting.
Perfect.
Okay.
So you are gonna mention that it takes away revenue from the town. That's,
So at this point, what I would say is something to the effect of, we received the proposed budget from the select board, we looked at it, and we were concerned that the increase in spending was more than the taxpayers really wanted to shoulder. And we worked quite diligently to find places to cut things. And now to see that, now I'm telling you my opinion, this is not necessarily the committee's opinion, but now to see a good portion of that work now negated by reducing revenues is quite frustrating.
okay, fine, sounds good.
When you're done, I just have one more thing.
Go ahead, I wanted to start.
So one thing I did forget when the budget was being presented, we're in the middle of a job description, update. So we're doing a department at a time. And as the select board approves those, signs off on them, we're correcting the job descriptions, the titles in the budget to match the job descriptions. So highway department's been updated, the welfare has been updated, and there was no changes to the town clerk tax collector. So those are the ones we've done so far. But we wanted to make sure everything matches back correctly. So you may see just the titles changing a little bit, as we get the rest of them approved, but that's it.
And when do you have to sign up to run for selectman? What's that date?
It's usually, that would be a Rayma question for sure, but usually it's the end of January.
That's what I thought, yeah. Okay.
I can probably get that from Rayma, but I will,
No, I'll ask you.
Yeah,
And-
she won't be back until the end, closer to the end of the month.
Yeah, in the past, I have announced that at a January meeting
Yeah,
window, so that
And I was
committee members that are up
I was
for
glad to
election.
find it because I believe it's Sue and Rob
Yeah.
would have to decide that their terms are ending at the town meeting and that they would have to decide if they want to run for re-election or not.
Yep.
So it's important that our committee knows the deadline to.
Sue and Rob.
Sue and Rob
Sue
have
and
their,
Rob.
or the
Oh.
their terms.
You're only one term?
He's
Oh,
he's filling Joe's term, which ends
You get rid of me after.
Okay, because I was thinking it's,
No, the town does.
it's Dawn and Anita that's up. That's what I was
Oh,
thinking.
yeah, no, I'm talking our committee, not,
yeah,
but you're right.
Yeah. Okay, I'll propose.
What's that?
Adjournment.
Oh,
Yeah.
so I have a motion to adjourn, I have a second,
Yeah.
I have a motion from Janet to adjourn and a second from Charlie, all in favor. We are adjourned. Thank you
Have a
everybody.
nice
Merry
holiday.
Christmas, yes,
You
you
too.
too.
Merry Christmas.